All right, we're gonna hope Brandon knows how to count to a metronome.
God, I released an album, hopefully.
I've been in the studio with Brandon. That's why I'm worried about it.
And I wonder if you know.
Console Crusade podcast. What the fuck is Damian Lillard gonna do today? I'm EJ Olson, dejected, with my good buddy Nick Durheim.
Basketball.
And Chris Gilly4.
If you really love him, let him go.
Are you wearing a Blazer jersey right now?
I am wearing a Jared Bayless Rip City slate gray alternate, which is the sickest fucking uni I own.
Summer League MVP Jared Bayless. Let's go. There you go. And joining us for the first time in how many goddamn years is my oldest friend, Brandon Gustaveson.
Is that the sports bowl game where you shoot the scores?
Touchdowns, exactly. And
Yes.
Damian Lillard is like our Brett Favre, and we've drafted Aaron Rodgers, and now he doesn't know what to do with his future. Oh my goodness gracious. Brandon, you're on the frickin' podcast, finally, about goddamn time.
I know. It just took, one console for me to finally put in the effort to be all like, oh yeah, I'm serious about this, instead of just being half-handedly like, oh yeah, I'll come on, but I'm not going to like put any effort because I'm a terrible friend.
We've been doing the podcast since, 2017, Nick? Is that right?
Yeah, in earnest. We did a few little, I don't know if those ever actually got posted, but we did some demos in 2016, but early 17 was when it got off the ground for real, and then, faltered and was irregular, largely.
I think with this episode, or maybe next episode, it'll be the most episodes we've ever put out in a single year.
Woo!
Yeah, that's not difficult.
Ooh, congratulations.
Bar to clear.
Hell yeah.
That number is over 10.
Either 22 or 28 was our most in a single year early on, predictably. Brandon, you're here with us. So I don't know how we got you to listen to any of the recent podcasts, but you did, and you're like, holy shit, listening to podcasts at work fucks. I remember when we started the podcast, I was like, Brandon, you got to listen to our podcast. And you're like, you listen to it, and you're like, you don't sound like yourself. Or whatever you phrased it.
Yeah, I think for you, I said you don't sound like yourself. And I was like, Nick, like he's going to fall asleep. It's all like, what are you guys doing?
I bore the shit out of Nick.
Skill issue, I know.
We had to get comfortable, but now we are comfortable. And then we brought in Chris, and now it's just like a couple of old blokes hanging out.
Oh yeah, it's fire.
So I'm glad you've been listening, but you text me randomly. You'll text me at random times throughout the day about something that was said on a podcast 3 months ago. And you're like, wait, why do you think that? How come Chris said this? And I'm like, I don't know, man. I don't know. Come on the podcast and bring it up yourself.
I'm catching up, okay? I got a lot of content. It's like our games library. You know how many Steam games you've probably bought over the years that you need to catch up on? Well, it's like that with this podcast.
It's just like your Steam backlog, but way less fun, and it costs a lot more than a couple of dollars. Piece of your soul, my friend.
What soul?
You're officially a console crusader. Is that a ginger joke?
It was. I mean, as a ginger, I feel I can make it.
Today, we're going to be talking about a little bit of what we've been playing. Brandon, you've been playing a little Final Fantasy XVI. I've been playing the newest Kirby. We'll be careful not to spoil anything for Chris when we start talking Final Fantasy. We're going to talk our GameCube hidden gems. Not hidden gems so much. What do we call that? It's the top 100 honorable mentions. Every week it's something different.
Yeah, unsung heroes.
The things that we just couldn't squeeze onto our list because we had to make room for Plock, Trauma Center, etc.
Will you shut the fuck up about Plock? You haven't even played it!
I have, and I can tell you it doesn't belong on that list. Actually, I still own it.
That's beautiful. I love that. And we have fucking Warzone on that list. We have Dragon Ball Z Infinite World or whatever the fuck it's called on this list. Heart picks matter.
Listen, we can swap that out for Budokai if it makes you feel better.
It does.
There's a lot of questionable picks, I'll be honest.
We have Ocarina of Time on that list, for God's sake.
I'd be happy to Nick's Ocarina, but Nick wouldn't let that happen. Listen, Hollow Knight is number one, okay? I need to take something from somebody, god damn it.
Spoiler alert.
Can I say something about that real quick? So Today I started listening to your 100 list at work. I am 2 hours and 30 minutes into a 5 hour and 40-minute podcast, and not even once has Hollow Knight been mentioned, and it's your number one? What?
We're just adding games to the list right now, Brandon. That first 3 hours of the pod is just adding games to the list willy-nilly, and then we go through and start to hone the pyramid of controversy.
All right, I'm building to that point then.
And that's even before we cut out the whole chunk where an unnamed person had to take a few minutes. had to take a little breaky break.
There was a moment, it was like, because I started off this whole thing by saying like, all right, I'm just going to randomly pick games from my list, and then we'll go to like 150, and then we'll cull, right? And then as we got close to the end of the list, I was like, there's so many games I haven't said. And they're like, well, you should have been not doing it randomly, you dumb piece of shit. And I was like, but I didn't have time to rank all of them. I don't know. And I had to freak out. And it was so hot in here. And I was like, I need a break. And I got up, and then they laughed at me a lot. And then they came up with a plan to get us back on track for the next 4 hours of the podcast. It was great. It came together nicely. Nintendo Direct, we'll do that at the end. That'll be a long conversation. Lots of things happened last week in the Direct. Lots of fun, exciting things. If you're like us, maybe not so much if you're an angry person on Twitter.
Am I still going to get like 5 minutes to opine about the Ouya?
Hell yeah. Let's start with the Ouya.
I'll keep this brief. So 10 years ago, I think at E3, the PlayStation 4 was announced. The same year, around E3, but not at E3, a little box, and I mean little, like really little, called the Ouya was also announced. This was intended to be the space for independent game developers to make their shit in an ecosystem that was by them and for them, would platform them, would give people a chance to, at a really low price point, $100 for this little box, to get their shit out there to a bunch of people. It was extremely affordable. So I loved the fact that it was for independent developers. I loved the fact that it was not one of the major console manufacturers. So I fucking bought the thing. I pre-ordered it.
The ultimate Chris move.
Ultimate Chris move. Even back in the day, the ultimate contrarian was like, I'm not pre-ordering a PS4. I'm gonna buy an Ouya. And I just, in principle, loved what they were about. That they were like, we are going to, every game on the console is going to be either free to play or free to try. That you are going to have to put a playable demo of everything that you want to put on that platform available so people could try it and see if they actually want to pay money for the game, which is something that a lot of major developers have started aping in recent years. It took them a decade, 8 years, 9 years to start doing it, but that has started to become something that we see more often. It was ran on an Android operating system, and every Ouya was also functionally a development kit. So if you bought an Ouya, you could develop for the Ouya for that like Android operating system. So much interesting weird shit on that little console.
How did Mr. Forever Physical get conned into buying a console where you could only download games onto the device? Or was this pre-collector brain?
No, I was still collector pilled at that point. It was how open source it was. It was the fact that it was all independent developers. The fact that just like people, any person could literally just like develop a game using the tools that were in that box. I wanted to be anti-establishment, I guess, is the heart of it, and just put my money where my values were and say I would rather pay $100 to support this company that is creating at the time, like they were like, we have like a $1 million fund that we will match dollar for dollar anyone who kickstarts a game past a certain threshold to publish it on Ouya. So they were literally putting their money where their values were and trying to get people to develop for this. Ultimately, obviously, it didn't fucking pan out. It died pretty quick, and the storefront it's gone. Like, there's no way to, it's just literally a paperweight at this point. But God, I loved that summer and that fall of just like trying out the most like random fucking shit on this game, on this little console. Towerfall was like the big one that launched on Ouya and then went on to major success. So it's not like they didn't have anything come out of that. But little like weird sort of like pixel horrorcore RPGs that are just like 35-minute experiences that somebody just like made. Like this one, I don't remember the name of it, but you're like, classic early JRPG. You're in the woods and like, the random like forest creatures are like attacking you basically. And then you get to your intended destination. And there's a shovel, and you realize that you're just like actually this sick kid who's just been like killing animals in the woods for fun. You're like, what the fuck? Like, it's just little weird, little bite-sized experiences like that I was like, this is so cool. Like, where else am I gonna play something like that? And some things that were actually like really
PS4.
Chris found out that summer what it's like to own a gaming PC of any caliber. Like, where else can you do this? Pretty much everywhere. But
itch.io launched not long after Ouya, which was another major contributor to its demise, is that way more people had a computer where they could just develop stuff and publish it for free on a platform. And then we get things coming out of itch.io like Doki Doki Literature Club, which was a whole fucking experience. If you've never played that shit that fucked me up. Like that game really fucked me up because I didn't really go in for horror at that time, and I went in for that, and like it anyway.
It's a hard left turn.
It's a hard left turn. Oh my god, we should do a DDLC
playthrough.
pod. Yeah, we should do. That'd be a fun ass game diary. Have y'all played it, Brandon? I can tell you played it.
Yeah,
I've watched it
and watched the lore videos and everything.
That was huge once upon a time.
Yeah, Nick, did you play it?
I have little interest in the visual novel turned like commentary / horror thing. It's a well-trod like territory that does not appeal to me.
Fair. Okay, you're lost. You're lost.
It's all like I had Corpse Party that brought me into that kind of stuff. So.
Oh yeah, for sure. That's like an OG.
Chris, you make a lot of really good points about like why you wanted to support that company, and they had a lot of interesting ideas. And I agree that it's easy to like poo-poo and shit on the Ouya as a meme, but they tried to do something different. And the weird thing is they couldn't have existed 10 years prior, just because of sort of not just the game space itself, but the technology. I mean, it was at this perfect little vector of like affordability and accessibility, but with that also came the absolute upturn in technology and availability of like cell phones and personal computers. So like it couldn't have existed sooner, and it couldn't succeed the time it existed because everything else, it was just an arms race, So it's just kind of unfortunate, but
it is. And yeah, it's money I would spend again if they're like, hey, Ouya 2 coming fall 2023.
The Ouya.
The Ouya. I would put another $100 down. I'd buy it again. I would. Great controller too. Really comfortable controller. Real clicky sticks and buttons. OUYA, of course. Yeah, shout out before we pivot out of this. I don't think we need to spend any more time on this console, but shout out to like just this great user-made RPG, episodic RPG called Motria that I never got to finish because there was no money on the platform anymore. Yeah, it died to death, but different chapters of just this like sweeping classic JRPG type story, different kinds of magic users and kingdoms, a big bad, like calamity befalling the land. Ended on a cliffhanger too. One of our main characters like presumably trapped in a landslide and potentially dead, and just a story that I never got to finish that I still think about sometimes. So Motria devs, if you're listening, you're not. We love you. I love you. I appreciate what you did. Yeah. Ooh, yeah. Weird little box. Beautiful principle. Did not stick the landing.
The only thing I remember about the Ouya, and this stuck with me, was like that summer after the E3, they had to set up like their own stand, like across the street from E3, because no shade, Chris, but nobody cared about the Ouya by that point, so they had to set up their own stand.
They literally did it on purpose. They rented a space across the street from E3 and were like, "Come to our fucking thing." Like people didn't probably, but I was like, "Fuck yeah!" Like they are doing it. Yeah.
Their publicity stunt did not work very well because all the news articles I was reading was saying that they just weren't invited, and so they had to do that instead. And so sadly they didn't get news journalism on their side to be all like, "Oh man, look at this revolutionary thing they're doing."
Yeah, all the fine folks at Kotaku didn't want to cover it.
Well, I assume, Nick, you've been playing nothing but Zelda again for yet another week. Is this correct?
This is correct. I feel like I'm at the point now where I'm ready to finish. I have completed all the shrines.
Wow.
I have no desire to do anything more as far as like Koroks go. The only thing I would maybe want to do is finish out some sets of armor and maybe get some of that upgraded. But at that point, like, what am I doing that for? Like, what is the purpose of doing that besides having like another sort of ball to chase and another thing to put in front of me on the treadmill? But
right.
Yeah, I am at the point now where I am ready to go to the final encounter and call it good for this experience.
I voiced them with Chris last week. I beat the game, and I sort of was like shocked at honestly how short. If you decided to just drop in tutorial, paraglider, nothing but main quests, it's like a 10-hour game. Obviously, you'd have to be very good to do that, and I'm not very good. It's like you need to grind.
Breath of the Wild was the exact same way.
Right. I'm trying to think back to some of those quests where you were doing the Divine Beasts, and you're probably right. It probably is pretty similar.
Well, you don't even have to do the Divine Beasts. I mean, it makes the final encounter a lot harder in Breath of the Wild, and it's a much more of a DPS check at that point. You kind of have to like cheese it to make sure your items don't break on you halfway through each battle. But
it's the same in this game.
Makes sense.
Yeah, it's basically the same formula, but the final boss fight is legitimately challenging. And I had my buddy Zach reach out and say, "Holy shit! I just tried to go beat the game and I got my shit rocked." And he's been playing, pretty consistently and grinding the game out. So I was like, "Yeah, it's tough." But the final set piece is really fucking cool. And it's not what I expected. I should have expected it, but I didn't. And when it happened, I was like, "Oh shit!" It was very fun. So I can't wait for you guys to play it and we can talk about it. But Chris, you said you haven't beaten Mega Man, so you haven't really done much else this week since we last talked?
I was up in Denali National Park this weekend. I had some friends in a band playing a gig up there. Playing a gig at this band called the Golden Spike, which is an park employees only bar that's made out of 2 converted rail cars from the Alaska Rail System. So like the venue is a converted rail car and the bar that's adjacent is a converted rail car. So it's fucking sick, just like partying with the park staff while my buddies rocked out and people buying me food and alcohol because I walked in with the band during setup and carried some heavy things for them. That was pretty sweet. But I played Zelda the whole drive up and the whole drive back because I was not driving. I am just over halfway done. It's going way faster the last couple of areas that I've cleared. Because I've got sort of my rhythm locked of I go through and I stamp where all the Koroks are. I switch my sensor to Bubble Frog so I can find caves more easily because shrines are so fucking...
Yep, mine's been on Bubble Frog for the past like 80 hours.
Because it's so fucking easy to find the shrines, especially with the depths. Like if I miss one, I will find the light route. It'll be obvious to me where the missing light route is. And I'll go, oh, I missed a shrine. And then I can just reverse it.
Or vice versa.
Yeah, exactly. So... it's been going way, way, way quicker. Yeah, I have like 84 or 85 shrines, like 50 something light roots, 516 or 17 Korok seeds.
Which is so many.
It is. I maxed my stashes like 112 seeds ago. But I'm getting them all. And yeah, like I said, stuff's just moving quicker for me, especially after like the advent of the air bike. And now I'm just like, oh my God, I can just sweep over, look for world bosses, drop down, because I got to get those medals. I got to get my Hinox medal. I got to get my fucking Talus medal, all that shit. Yeah, and Sunday, I'm still doing Spyro on Fridays. I think I'm like 50 or 60% of the way through doing Spyro 1, and it's such an easy 100%, EJ, like you said on the pod. Like, I can't not get all the gems and dragon eggs and dragons. It's so easy. Like, I just got to do it. It feels good. And I did not quite get through Mega Man X5 yesterday because my phone was having issues like keeping the walkthrough pages pulled up because it's all like fucking Neo sites and like fan wiki and shit like that because this game's old as hell. So I'm withholding any comment on X5, but next week after I finished my X run and done a Zero run, I definitely want to talk about it because it is so much better than I remember it being.
I should probably play that as a palate cleanser after Tears of the Kingdom.
Oh,
Because
dude.
I too have the X collection on Switch. But the only reason I haven't played X5 is because it's split into 2 parts where half of it is on the cartridge, the other half is a download code.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, if I don't play any of 5 through 8, I could sell this download code potentially, but I'm never gonna do that. So I might as well just download it.
Yeah, that'd be tight, dude. We should talk about it. Let me know when you get through that. But yeah, that's me. I'm still mostly keeping up with the rotation. It's been clear at this point, like what I actually want to play. And that is a Hades on Mondays, Spyro on Fridays, and Mega Man X on the weekends. Axiom Verge sometimes. Borderlands isn't happening. Sword and Shield, like DLC Pokemon for my living decks, is not happening. Because I don't fucking care. I don't want to do that right now. I'd rather play Zelda. And if I'd rather play Zelda, then like, fuck it. I'm just going to play Zelda.
Brandon,
Yes.
you've been playing Zelda. We did the Zelda pod. I don't know if you've listened to it yet for fear of spoilers. Give us some thoughts on Zelda. Don't spoil any. Let's not try to get too crazy because there's stuff that Nick and Chris haven't seen, and obviously no one else has beaten the game yet. But what are your thoughts on this formula, not only as a Zelda formula, but as a sequel to Breath of the Wild?
I mean, I'm pretty sure that all of you guys are farther than me at this point because I've had to take a break a lot sooner. To put in perspective, I got Breath of the Wild when it came out because I got the Switch when it came out.
Right.
And I didn't beat Breath of the Wild until 2020. So if that puts into perspective how long I sat on Breath of the Wild.
You're like Nate and Chris, where you're like, you'll be playing 14 games at once and you just bounce around like a fucking cat seeing a squirrel outside.
I mean, on the games I've been playing for the last week, there is 4 games. One of them is Zelda. I believe that the cave system was just like they were talking about finding the caves was a definite improvement. I love the cave system. I love going in there and then finding, the bubble frog. But then like, oh, does this one have like a secret outfit? And like, what's the secret outfit? Is it going to be like a past thing or is this going to be something cool and new? And it's like, it's a surprise. It's exciting. I love it. As a build off from Breath of the Wild, it's definitely way better, but also I agree that it's definitely way harder until you get out of that mindset, because I'm definitely one of those people who, like, when I play games, I just go at it and
You're
I'm just
gunner,
all like, brute force. And this game I had to reprogram my brain.
You had to use your brain. You had to think about things a little bit.
It's like my wife, she uses the what are they called? I think it was Nick or Chris who was talking on the podcast that gets them all confused.
Oh, the Muddle Buds.
Yes,
dude.
the Muddle. Emmy loves the Muddle Buds. It's her like instant go-to with that game. The first time, like Chris, the first time I ended up on the Wind Temple and it said like Wind Temple, I was just like, oh my god, yes! Like, temples are back, baby.
It's such a small thing, but it really does just like hit when that big text pops up on the screen. It just triggers something in your lizard brain. You're like, oh, I like this.
And I get like the companion abilities are supposed to be like the temple item kind of that you're supposed to use to beat the temple, but I still miss the actual like items that you would collect in the temple. It's like you get partway through the temple and you collect an item and it's like, oh, you have to use this with your other items or just this one singularly to be able to get through the temple. And I still do kind of miss that. Like there's definitely things about the old games that I miss in these games, but I do like the open world aspect of choosing, whatever temple you want to go to. I do love I'm pretty sure they've already found it, but for other listeners, the other, you guys kind of talked about the other special guardian, the other special spirit.
Don't spoil it too much for Chris. I don't think he's done it yet.
I have not.
Well, I'm just saying the callbacks to the other games. That's all I'm saying is just, I know you guys have done the tiers and just in a lot of the tiers movies, there was callbacks to other games. And I just love sitting there. I was in Hawaii when it first came out. And I stayed up like all night playing Zelda because I was doing Hawaii stuff the rest of the day. And I was just in bed, just shaking, going, oh my God, this is so cool. I remember this from this game and I remember that from that game. It was amazing.
Makes you a little kid again, huh?
It might be like
Really
the most
did.
Zelda-y Zelda game ever in terms of them going like, we have this big, rich history to draw from, and we're going to just use all of it. And we're also going to give you a bunch of new shit that you've wondered about for a long time with the Zonai. And I think that's great in a game where like the timeline's always been like, whose line is it anyway, right? Like, it doesn't fucking matter. Like,
It makes you really wonder what they can and what they will do next. Like, do they change it up and do something different? Do they go back to the old style? Do they do a Breath of the Wild 3? Like,
I sincerely hope not.
I mean, I don't want a Breath of the Wild 3, but it's super popular. They might use a lot of the same mechanics and whatnot. New map, different Link, all the other good stuff.
Tunes of the Kingdom, where it's a Wind Waker style map that actually has some stuff on it. And it's you arriving at the new continent. You and Link and Tetra arriving at the new continent they set sail for at the end of Wind Waker. Big fucking open world
and
map.
you could dive in a submersible, not controlled by a Logitech controller.
Ooh. But you can just use reverse to make it go back to dry dock, and then you save
Yes.
it.
It also doesn't cost you 250,000 rupees to get the. Anyway.
Oh man, dude. Okay, honestly, I had never even considered a proper Wind Waker sequel, but it's just so made for a proper open world in the current year. Chris, you got me, you son of a bitch!
Wouldn't it be great, man?
Subnautica, but with crafting. More crafting, I guess.
No, you're already there. The opening cutscene is you land the red dragon, the king of the red dragons, on the shore of the continent, and that's it. You just like, okay, this is the new Hyrule. Let's go fucking meet some people. Like, oh fuck, there's the Zora. Oh shit, the Rito flew with us, and they've got a fucking colony over on yonder mountain. I don't give a shit. Like, give me Wind Waker art style.
Give me Wind Waker Gorons.
Oh man, that's just something. Brandon, you've also been playing Final Fantasy XVI, which you really shouldn't spoil for Chris, but in our group chat, there has been a little bit of obviously we're invested in like how games review because of our Fantasy Critic League. So Brennan had this game drafted, but just being sort of an observer to this discourse and seeing how surprisingly controversial Final Fantasy has been, how far along are you? And give us your top level thoughts here.
Okay, so I will obviously do no story spoilers for Chris because I love Chris, but there will be like mechanic spoilers and stuff like that. So
Go for it.
Deal with that. So I'm probably I want to say 6, 7, probably 8 or 9 probably 8 or 9 hours in. I want to say but like there still feels like there's a lot of game left for me to play. It doesn't feel like I've really touched the surface on how far this game is going to go. And so I know there's a lot of controversy over, the battle mechanics. And it definitely feels like a less flashy Devil May Cry. But at the same time, like, I'm not completely turned off from it just because, one, I do like Devil May Cry games, but also I feel like they've kind of been sliding this way since Final Fantasy XII. Like, slowly they've been moving out of, turn-based tactics, which, I mean, I love the original Final Fantasy games, and I would have been totally down for this to be turn-based, but I'm not turned off from it. One of the things I'll say is, like, I understand that the turn-based battle system is like what people like see as Final Fantasy, but it's not really just like what Final Fantasy has like this feel to it, this aesthetic and like emotion, and just like it seriously, I can't say enough how much of a Final Fantasy game this really is. Like the characters' attitudes, their looks, the world's look, the creatures and monsters, the story, like this is like a Final Fantasy game. Like, it doesn't matter what the battle mechanic is, like it just breathes and exudes Final Fantasy from it, which is really cool for me as somebody who grew up playing Final Fantasy games. And then it's also got the icons that everybody talks about. Those battles just feel huge, and it's so cool. Like, I miss summons, but like the icon battles are just awesome to just see these summons that you've grown up with, eidolons, you know, whatever they call them, summons, eidolons, they're now icons, and just see them just battle it out tooth and nail. And like it, depending on like which icon is in the battle, changes the whole battle system as well. Like you get like an on the rail shooter one, you get like a Street Fighter fighting type. It's really cool. It definitely feels also less grindy than a normal Final Fantasy game. I know, right? Like, it's kind of not, but I mean, like, that's one of the things I love about those JRPGs, though, is the grindiness to it. So it's like, it kind of is a little bit, for me, but it is nice to, like, since I don't have a lot of time, since I work a lot, to just kind of, like, play a game and just play it through and not feel the need to grind, which is also nice with the fact that it has, like, so few side quests. They are terrible, though. Yeah, there's like so little, and they're awful. They're all awful.
No.
So far. I'm sorry.
Oh, God damn it. I was so excited. You're like, oh, this is a real Final Fantasy-ass Final Fantasy game. But bad side quest? No side quest? Oh.
I'm talking about the aesthetics, the feel, the look.
Sure.
The story is very Final Fantasy.
One of the many reviewers that I follow and watch regularly, taking a look at some of their Final Fantasy opinions, the two complaints that I've seen the most about this game, despite people generally really liking this game as an action game, is that the non-story content feels very sparse, and that there are just no RPG elements. I saw multiple takes of people being like, "This is not an RPG. There is almost nothing to this game." And to me, that's when you think of Final Fantasy, you think of those RPG elements next to all the other things that you already said, Brandon. But if you want to play a Devil May Cry game, cool. Is that more what it feels like, though?
As the resident FF head, I'm sorry. I have to respond to that. I love you, Brandon. I'll get right back to you. I promise. That is absolutely not what I think of when I think of Final Fantasy. That is not what I think of when I feel. No, that is not the first thing I think of when I think of Final Fantasy. I think of how it feels. I think of how it sounds. I think of how it looks. I think of the energy that it exudes. I think of the key pieces of iconography. That is what I think of when I think of Final Fantasy, because there have been so many incredible fucking like spin-offs, side entries, iterations of this that are not RPGs really by any metric, that are still Final Fantasy joints, like Crystal Chronicles on the Gamecube. Not many RPG elements to that at all. Tactics, right? That is dripping with Final Fantasy. Like, so I get that a lot of people are really upset that it's not an RPG in the sense of what you would think of. Although my understanding with a lot of the mechanics, Brandon, is there's like some pretty fat fucking like EXP based and ability point based skill trees, and you do level, I assume.
So is God of War.
Is that not an action RPG?
No.
Then what the fuck is it?
Action adventure.
You start adding leveling, I think it's fair game to be an RPG. Not a lot of choice.
Okay, Zelda's an RPG then.
Some people think so. I don't necessarily agree with that.
And they're wrong.
You don't level in Zelda. You don't level. There is no leveling in Zelda.
One more thing about the Devil May Cry feel, though, that I will say is kind of cool, is they have what's called a cinematic battle mechanic. And so there's at certain points, and I think it's when you get who you're fighting down to certain health, it plays out these QuickTime events, which, I mean, you know, some people love QuickTime events, some people hate them. But, like, there's a lot of games who have done that kind of thing before in their battles, but it's like you see the same event over and over. I haven't seen the same event once, which has been kind of cool. There's been one point where, like, it's been very similar, but like it's still a bit different. But overall, like every time I've seen this, they're different, and it's like sometimes it'll feel like. Oh, I'll say one of the really cool things about it too is there's been a couple times where like you'll start to see the same animation, and then your character will be all like, "Oh, not letting that happen again," and then he does something different, and then it changes the whole scene. And it's like, "Oh, that's cool. That's kind of cool."
It's like contextualizing and like. Yeah, it knows what it's shown you before, so it tries to shake it up as much as possible. That seems like a really nice quality of life feature.
One of the biggest complaints I will say, though, and so this will depend, and I won't. It's not really a complaint because it's more of an opinion kind of thing, and it's not like my opinion. It's just going to help decide if you're a person who's going to like this game or dislike it, is it definitely kind of feels like a movie in which you're playing. There is a lot of cutscenes in which you are just sitting there and watching the game play out. Then you'll do some battles, then you'll watch some more cutscenes, then you'll do some more battles, watch some more cutscenes, then you'll walk for a while. And I'm enjoying it. Don't get me wrong. Like I said, I just know that that's something that can really turn people off. For me, I'm enjoying it. I think the story and the characters are good enough. You definitely have your mopey emo boy main character who gets out of his who gets out of his Jon Snow ways. I love it. I'm enjoying it. I'm enjoying it a lot.
I had to look this up because so How Long to Beat, a really good resource into checking out the average playtime of video games, all user submitted, sort of collates various experiences, has this at about 31 hours for the main story, 45 for main plus side, 66 for completionist, just sort of escalating how much you do in it.
But
awesome. Most people who were just like, not like mainlining, like hardcore speedrunning, but like just, playing it and doing all the things that are required, 31 hours. And then to compare that, I went on YouTube and I searched Final Fantasy XVI all cutscenes, and between 17 and 20 hours. So it seems like over 50% of this game is cutscene.
Wow! That is insanity.
Well, that's why I wanted to bring it up, because it definitely is like a movie.
Metal Gear Solid? What the fuck?
Let's go.
That's really funny. That's all.
If you're going to do story, do fucking story. Do fucking story. Just do it.
Like I said, it's a Final Fantasy game. Like, it feels like not counting like battle mechanic, because some people, that's what they see as a video game, but as like the actual feel and like life of a Final Fantasy game and aesthetic, it is 100% a Final Fantasy game.
I'm hype.
Chris, I hope it's everything you want it to be when you finally get to it, when you get back to your sweet, sweet PlayStation. Also your wife, but PlayStation in particular.
Yeah, 1A,
1B. Hi, Tiffany.
Hey, babe, love you.
I was going to pivot us into the GameCube and a little blast from the past, but real quick, Kirby the Forgotten Land. We've talked about it at length on this podcast. Chris, you have absolutely gushed over this game. It is on our top 100.
Yeah.
And after beating Zelda, I wanted not only a palate cleanser from Zelda is heavy. I just needed something casual. But I wanted to play something on the top 100 because I want to play through all those games. And it's our top 100. I feel like I'm obligated to try everything on there that I haven't tried. So I've been playing that. It really is delightful and does not feel tedious in a way that a lot of cutesy Nintendo action platformers feel. And I historically do like Kirby games. I 100%ed. I always forget what.
Robobot.
No, the one before that.
Oh yeah, that's Triple Deluxe.
Triple Deluxe.
Yeah, Triple Deluxe. I love that one. So good.
I did like Robobot a lot, but I never beat it. 3DS and all. So I like Kirby. He's just a cute little bastard. And the first thing I did, I got through the first world in this game, and I texted Chris, and I was like, this really is the best looking game on the Switch. It's just gorgeous. And this is how you do a game that has a really simple aesthetic, but just make it feel like it belongs in the current era.
It's really amazing what you can do when you take away camera control from the player. Like when you know exactly what's going to be rendered at any given point, you can just cram as much crap in there as you want.
And they handle, from a technical standpoint, they handle the frame rate really well, and the way that they segment scenes being rendered in the background, and the way that those transition from being this really choppy but intentionally sort of stop motion aesthetic into okay, now it's the main scene. It's just done so well. The collectibles are just right. And I like that each level has a list of achievements that you're going after instead of just 3 stars. You're going after Waddle Dees in every single level, but then there's these dynamic achievements that are unique to each level. And I really like that. It keeps each level a little more interesting, keeping your eye out for what could it be in this level? Am I breaking all the recycling bins, or am I kicking all the cans, or am I,
Right, because they don't tell you when you start the level. So some of them you'll find on accident.
Wish they did. I don't want to replay the level to find your cute thing, but I feel compelled to because I want to have all the things.
I kind of agree with Nick on that one. Because, on the most Kirby games, I want to replay the level because I want to play the whole thing. Superstar Saga, I have played, 20, 50 times over from the beginning. but I don't want to just have to go back and redo one level. I want to go back and re-experience all the parts. So it's like I kind of agree with Nick in that sense, but it's all like a good Kirby game is that it is replayable. And I mean, I still, even with that, I still find this replayable. Absolutely.
Yeah, and the levels are brief enough that it's not like tedious or a chore. It's just a little bit annoying when I have one question mark. I mean, it tells you after you beat the level, so it's arbitrary to them telling you. Like, they'll tell you eventually, but like, why not tell me when I want to know instead of when you want me to know? That's all.
Because then you're only going to do that thing and you're not going to interact with a lot of the rest of the little goodies they've sprinkled in that are really cute and interesting that you wouldn't otherwise. Like, if you didn't know that you needed that, like running into certain flowers would make them like bloom certain colors, like literally the first level.
But then they tell you after you play the level, and then you play the level again to do the one thing, and you're just rushing through and rushing past everything else.
Yeah, I think it's a preference thing, and that's totally fine. I haven't found it annoying yet because the levels are very short, and I've only had to replay about 50% of the levels so far because you start to understand kind of what you're looking for, and so it does incentivize you to explore the nooks and crannies of the level. And so most of the time I will 100% at the first run through, unless it's like sometimes there's like something a little more difficult that you kind of have to figure out, like a certain achievement on like this boss. And so that's annoying where it's like, oh, I had to run through the boss's legs to get an achievement. Like that's stupid. I have to go play through the whole level again. That is silly. The thing that I've been beating my head against is all of these skill challenges where you get a certain
They're
power.
so good. I love this advent. Like, I feel like, I don't know when it started. The earliest example I can think of is Sunshine, where you have like the challenge course.
Yeah.
And it's sort of a modification of like what you've been doing, but like hyper focused. And that was one of my favorite things in Odyssey. And the challenges in this game are really exquisite.
They're good.
Like, they're very doable. Like, if you know, like, you can do it the wrong way and make it really difficult. And I've definitely done that where I'm like, I shaved off like milliseconds off of the target time. And the target time doesn't really do anything except give you more coins.
I know.
No, you got to do it, EJ. It matters.
I know. I have to do them in the ghost time. Like, I cannot move on until I have beaten it. And there's some of them that are like triple star difficulty that are so easy, and you do it on the first try, and you're like, all right, cool. And there are some where you're just baffled. Like, there's no way I can shave any more time off of this. Dude, I did the first drill one today. I think that took a year off my life, where it's like you have to perfectly drill underground around this giant platform, and if you are even a little bit too wide, you can't complete the circle. You're like, great, got to restart the entire thing. Glad it, you do a 1.5-minute run and you get to the end and you just barely fuck it up. There's no room for error. So that appeals to me.
There's like a staircase one that I spent a good half an hour on trying to get the ghost time.
Must be the hammer, because EJ is struggling so hard with the hammer one. And I did too. That one is fucking hard.
I finally got the hammer one with all the stairs and the fucking, yeah, but that was a nightmare too. I was like, I don't know what I'm doing wrong. I looked up a YouTube video and the guy's just doing the exact same thing. And I'm like, okay, I guess you literally have to be like frame perfect.
Yeah, I can't remember exactly. I just remember there was a lot of stairs and it took me a long time. And it was probably like 3 or 4 worlds in. It's like not super far or anything, but yeah.
This is a great thing about them, though, and I'm glad you mentioned the drill one specifically, is that they made me better at this game because I had to actually learn a lot of the like intricacies of the different powers. Like, I had no fucking clue that you could explode things if you drilled a circle around them until I was like, I don't understand how to do this any faster. And I looked at the like bonus tips or whatever, or the extra little video that it'll show you. And I'm like, oh, what the fuck? I didn't even know I could do that. And it was that for a number of the powers. And you're going to see all of them in really good measure. There's great powers in this game. And the iterations as they get stronger are amazing. Amazing. How much of that have you gotten to do, EJ? Like, how many schematics have you gotten for improvements?
I found 3 power upgrades for the discs that you throw and the fire. And I just found a third one that I haven't actually upgraded yet. And I don't remember what it was, but I just found a blueprint.
Man, wait till you get top tier gun Kirby, because that's just like one of my favorite fucking powers ever is what they did with the 3rd tier of gun Kirby.
I'm even like getting like deep into the gacha system. I'm like, I got all these fucking coins. I'm gonna go complete my collection.
100%. Gotta do it.
Collector.
Gotta do it. One in every 3 is a guaranteed new drop. 1 in every 3. I proved that through every single one of these machines. 1 in every 3 is a new drop. Minimum.
Don't forget to do some fishing.
This got me so hyped that tomorrow after work, I'm definitely gonna put Kirby on the TV, and my wife and I are gonna definitely play some Kirby together.
Yeah, buddy.
Let's go. The music slaps, man. It's such a vibe.
The music is so great. It is such a Nintendo-ass Nintendo game. It feels the way I remember Nintendo feeling as a kid, and not a lot of Nintendo games have done that for me as an adult.
Yes.
Yes,
So
Kirby
much
always
sense.
does it.
It's just shamelessly charming and innocent and delightful.
But it's an 85. That's the highest grade that this fucking game deserves. This game's a 90.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. This game's a 90. It is unimpeachably good. It is unimpeachably great. It runs well. Like you said, EJ, it is maybe the best looking game on the Nintendo Switch. It is genuinely challenging, especially in the later stages of the post game. I cannot believe that people docked this for being too easy
Oh, stop.
as a review
That's just
metric.
the meme with Kirby
and that's,
games.
And that's like 8 out of 10 because it's a Kirby game. I'm like, fuck off. Come on.
It's almost as good as Fuga Melodies of Steel 2.
Stop it! Don't do that to me right now, because you know I can't do anything about it until next week. Okay, so 2 things. 1, this game actually caused my first Switch crash on this particular OLED. It completely froze on a blue screen, and the music went where it got stuck, and I had to undock it and like hard power cycle the thing. And now I'm like afraid to play it again. Did I bork my Switch, or was it just a weird crash? Did it overheat? I don't know. The fan wasn't spinning, so I don't know what the fuck happened. But it was like a demon possessed my fucking television for 30 seconds.
Kirby was too powerful.
You know, everyone says, "Oh, it's sort of like the 3D world of Kirby games," and that is true.
Totally.
But you know, I thought back to what Nate said, where it 3D world kind of feels like you have these little vignettes floating in the sky, and it's these little, I can't remember exactly how he put it, but I understood what he was trying to
Like
communicate.
dioramas.
Yeah, little dioramas, and it just felt very bite-sized. Even though it's sort of the same formula with this game, it feels so much more connected in a way that I appreciate more than what 3D World did. But it is an apt sort of comparison. I think this should be the future of Kirby games. Like, I don't know if I would ever want to play a side-scrolling Kirby game after this. It's just so well done. All right, we're about an hour in. We have a lot left to talk about today. So real quick, let's do our Console Crusade Top 100 honorable mentions, games that did not get talked about enough or mentioned at all during our 6-hour super pod where we did our top 100 games ever. Nick, I'm going to start with you, and then we'll go to Brandon, and we'll go to Chris, and then I'll finish it off with something quick and easy before we jump into the Nintendo Direct.
So, like any other diligent host on a podcast, I had to go onto the Wikipedia to, make sure I knew all the dates and the developers and all this kind of stuff.
Right,
and just a
right.
fun little fact, one of the developers on the game that I'm bringing to the table also assisted with Kirby and the Forgotten Land. So they're still kicking. They're still contributing in major ways.
I want to guess what your game is. You price charted the game and sent us the... what is it? $230.
Why is it $1? Why is it $1 difference between CIB and loose?
That was the funny thing. That was the reason why I shared that.
I
It's
was
like,
like,
wow, what
what
is the
the
discrepancy
fuck?
there? That is a cheap case. Or the game is just, it's like well known, but it's not like rare. It's weird. It's a weird game.
Is
So
it custom robo?
no,
No, that's not that expensive.
watching the trailer for Pikmin 4 in the direct that we'll talk about later, and sort of seeing some of the aspects of like, they actually go inside of a building in Pikmin 4, and there's a lot more. I mean, each game has a lot of sort of references to big, for them, big versions of things that are small for us, like the Duracell batteries, and in this trailer we also see the Game Boy Advance SP, and I think it's kind of a trope that is utilized fairly frequently, but it's still always really entertaining to be a small thing in a big world. And it's especially interesting when it's a contextual sort of aspect. Like, this is something in our real life that we see every day, and it's very mundane, and we don't think about it, but then it's suddenly very different when it's huge compared to your own body.
Okay.
And
Yep.
this is a prime era for extremely quirky, very Japanese kind of games. This game reminds me a lot of Katamari Damacy,
Yeah.
and obviously, I'm talking about Chibi Robo.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's just so weird and like cute and nice. You're just this like friendly little robot that this like family gets because they need help around the house, because they're a family that's like trying to get by, and it's just a very mundane sort of house with some toys laying around. But as you explore, you find that these toys have their own dramas going on. Like I remember specifically, there's this like action figure guy who's just a blowhard, very Zap Brannigan-esque, and you have to do some like mini games for him. And it's just so weird. And they've tried doing like sequels and further releases in the games, and none of them kind of hit that original charm. And I don't know if it's just them branching out into different genres. Like they did that really bad 3DS game last, and I think that pretty much put the last nail in the coffin for the franchise. But man, I really wish that we would get a HD remake of the first game, or like a return to form, like that kind of style of game where it's just a very chill, low stakes adventure game, just exploring this house and just like doing small little tasks, and like you're just getting happy points. That is the currency of this game, is happiness. You're just trying to make this little girl happy, and like her family, like the dad who's just been like laid off or something. It's like this weird birthday party it's a really weird game from 2005. I thought it was a little bit earlier than that, but yeah, it's Chibi Robo, man. It's got really strange music. I mean, it's just like the whole package of strangeness, but all of it is just really appealing. And the little robot guy with his little plug head, love him.
The GameCube market right now is truly absurd. And it's hitting highs that the N64 never hit. And it's kind of disheartening because there are like a couple of chase titles that I would still really like to have for my collection that I just hadn't gotten to. And it's ridiculous. I mean, this game being, $230 to $260 is crazy. On Amazon, $400 right now.
Amazon, do not buy retro games on Amazon. It's a hoax. It's a scam.
There are a lot of reputable people who sell on Amazon, but they're selling to people who really don't know any better.
Yeah, so they double the price.
Right, and they make their money. eBay is the way to go. Although, I have been dipping my toes into Marketplace lately, and I know, Chris, you buy on Macari, so every once in a while you get a decent deal. Chibi Robo, man. Give me goddamn virtual console games on the Switch. How is it that 20 years later we've never gotten GameCube games on any other Nintendo platform?
I hate to tell you, Pikmin 1 and 2 being up-resed into HD means it is literally never happening. It's never, ever happening. They're just going to port.
So disappointing.
They're just going to port and port and port. And I'm really happy that I'm going to be able to play Pikmin 1 and 2 in September when they release a physical version that I can put on my shelf.
Right.
Have the whole album by Pikmin 3, which I still haven't played. I'm going to buy Pikmin 4. I'm going to have like a whole Pikmin fucking party over winter break.
Don't forget, hey, Pikmin.
I will forget it. And I already have. Next person.
Brando, what do you got for me, baby?
So, talking about this crazy off-the-wall GameCube market, since Nick was talking about the price of his game, mine fully boxed, $750. And I will say this.
Wow.
I will say this. I will preface everything I'm saying. I love this game to death, personally. I do not believe it has any business being $750. It's fun for me. It's not that good of a game. My game is a little game called Gotcha Force. And
yeah,
I knew it.
Yeah.
Okay, so everybody knows a little bit gotcha. I love it.
Well, I know this because of you in a third party.
Because that's part of how I got into this game. Like, is going over to my buddy Jordan's place, and like we would spend hours playing this on his GameCube, just building teams and fighting. And so like it's hard to figure out where a point to start off. Like,
it's a Gundam game with toys.
It plays out like an anime. Like, it has arcs and everything in the story, and it's great. It has like all the characters have like just like typical archetypes and trope characters, but like that's what makes it so fun. Like, you just have like the generic best friend, and then the quiet shy girl that always hangs out with the group. But then you have, the sporty girl and the really nerdy kid, and then the younger kid who you train, and then you get like that first kind of bully that you kind of make friends with, but he's still kind of like a bad guy the whole time, and then the competing energetic main character. It's like, it's so wild. It just feels so much like an anime. And so like story wise, like what the battle system is, everything is, there's these robots. They're kind of like Transformers a little bit, because they're like living robots. They're like the size of toys that came down to Earth. And so these kids
little gotcha figures, dude.
Yes, little robots and whatnot. In the forms of like ninjas and like Transformer looking dudes and like bikini ladies and fairies. Like, it's wild. Just like the diversity. Like, they've got tanks and cars. It's so, oh my gosh, it's so much fun. You build your little force and then you go and you do battles.
Like little like arena battles, right? Where it's like it's more of a shooter than anything, honestly. But these little arena battles with these toys.
It depends on like which characters you pick, because like it's either a shooter or a close combat. Like if you pick close combat characters, or if you pick the shooter characters, or you want to mix and match. Like, but it like the more I talk about it, the more I realize it really is Transformers, because they came to Earth to escape the Galactic Emperor, who is the Decepticons who chased them to Earth, and then now they need humans' help to defeat the Galactic Emperors. But and it's just it like hits that collectathon that Pokemon hits, because you want to get all these guys, and like some of them, like the stronger ones, you only get like pieces, like you'll need shards, like you'll need 2 to 4 shards to collect them. But then it hits you harder, because then you find out that there's shiny versions, like deep into the first time you play through, that there's alternate colored versions of all the characters.
And then you're fucked.
Yes, and you get it, but it doesn't end, because then as you play again, like all of a sudden now silver versions are unlocked, then gold versions, shadow version, crystal versions. The cool thing is it's not just a different color. Like there's something specific about them. Like if I remember correctly, gold versions have more health. Crystal versions have more defense. It's all like each one of them has something different about them just beyond the colors. It's like I could gush about this game for hours. I have so much fun.
Capcom, bring it back.
Dude,
seriously.
Okay. So I played this game for the first time with you, Brandon, in your freaking room in 2016, right after the NX was rumored and talked about. And my first Reddit post ever, I think I joined Reddit in 2013, and I didn't make a post until 2016. My first post ever was, should Gacha Force come back as a Switch game? Because I was enamored with this game. I was like, it's rare that you go back and play a retro game for the first time where you're like, holy shit, this is actually really fun. Totally could hold up today. And so, you know, in my mind, it's always been like one of those things that seems like a no-brainer for just a fun kids game with a really cool conceit. This game is awesome, and I would love to own a copy one day, a nice clean copy that I can play on my GameCube. We'll see if the market ever fucking crashes and I can afford to like things again. We'll see.
Hey, I will say this, though. I love this game so much, and I want to share the love so much that, like, if any of you guys ever want to play it, I am more than happy to lend my copy out. That is how much I love this game and want other people to enjoy it the same way I do.
Ship that thing over to Kentucky.
Next Oregon trip, it's Brandon's place. Gacha Force all weekend.
Yo,
hell yeah.
Couch co-op bust, baby.
Bring your GameCube controllers.
Oh, I got them.
Hell yeah.
We did the beach trip with the group chat earlier this year, and it was just one of those sleepover with the boys. We have nothing going on. We're just going to fucking hang out. And I'm like, I need like 4 to 6 of those, like just a really good, like, all right, nothing on the agenda but fucking video games with the homies, you know, and just get on the couch, bust out a few consoles. And it's like once a year or once every 2 years is just not enough.
We might be coming back. We might be
When
coming
is that?
back, man. Next year.
Like forever? Or, well, there's no forever with
like
you.
The first 5 to 7 years of our future child's life. Not that Tiffany's not pregnant. This is not the way
This is
that
not
would
an
be
announcement.
but it's time, right? Like
Console Crusade exclusive.
You heard it here first.
No, stop this madness. But we're like, we want to go back West Coast. So, I mean, I'm just saying this could be so much more imminently achievable than you think it could be.
Is there a world where the Console Crusade podcast could be recorded in person every other week?
Yes.
Ah,
EJ,
that'd be so fucking cool.
come back.
Yes.
You also
Come
have
back,
to get the
EJ.
fuck out of Eugene, homie. That's the other
Yes.
part of this.
There are machinations. Okay.
There's always machinations. Just do the damn thing.
There's an update.
Machinations of my mind are an enigma.
I'm waiting for this update.
Yeah, what is it?
Yeah, what's the update?
Okay. Here's a life update on the Console Crusade podcast.
Exclusive.
So Sarah's uncle passed away last year, and her aunt has, been living on her own and is getting older and is quite lonely. So all of that to say, 2 times now she's pitched us. She's like, listen, I will go take out a loan on my house and build an ADU on the property, and you guys will come up and you could just pay my mortgage, and we'll, be living right next to her, but she'll have her space and we'd have ours, and it would be a very affordable way for us to get up and plant some roots that, no month-to-month lease, no, it'd be rent controlled, etc. Closer to family, helping out some of Sarah's family, and potentially having a space to be in that is conducive not only to our current lifestyle, but also, Chris, like you said, the eventuality of having a kid, which ekes closer every month we get older.
Yeah, right. God damn. That is so real.
The grains of sand of just about, we are running out of time here. So anyway, that's the update. Hopefully, maybe in a year, we'll all be in the same city. And wouldn't that be fucking dandy?
Well, close to the same city.
Man,
Close to the same city.
Nick's like, I waited it out and it fucking paid off.
They always come back.
Oh, man.
Gresham is a black hole.
I'll be in
dude.
Portland. I will sure the fuck not be living in Gresham. That's not on the cards. Far enough
Who
away
can afford
from
that?
my family. I love them, but far enough that they can't just show up at my front door anytime they want.
Yeah, fair.
I moved to Oregon City, and then not even 4 months later, my job changed from Hillsborough to Gresham. It's all I just got out of Gresham, moved to Oregon City, and it's now you're back.
You've had such a hellish commute for your entire professional life. And it was just the universe being you know what? Actually, fuck you. You're back.
I mean, Oregon City to Gresham's not bad. It's 30 minutes
better.
to work, 40 to 45 minutes back. So that's
Hell of a lot
horrible.
better than Gresham to Hillsborough in rush hour traffic.
Hour and a half to 2 hours.
Yeah, fuck that.
Fuck that. No.
Yeah. Well, anyway, fucking shout out to Gotcha Force, dude. What a fun fucking game. Bring it back.
Yeah.
S tier game.
I've only ever played it solo. Would love to actually get some sticks on with the rubbing shoulders with the jabroni boys and
Yeah.
Heck yeah.
crack a couple of beers and just get stupid with these poles.
Yeah.
It'd be a lot of fun.
I'll pull out my game and I'll build up those forces so that we got a lot to pick from.
I'm gonna need it all, baby. Chris, is your GameCube game, does it currently cost more than $750 on the secondary market?
Let me check.
Can I try to guess your game before you give us any information?
Yes.
Okay, is it a typical...
This isn't a guess. This is 20 questions, so I'm going to stop you right there.
Is it Skies of
guess?
Arcadia?
No, I've never played Skies of Arcadia.
Is it one of the Pokemon RPGs?
Never played those either, if you could believe that.
Okay.
Is it Beautiful Joe?
No, but boy, I have questions about that question. Are we talking about complete in box, what that price is?
Yeah, CIB.
Oh, let's see.
I'm gonna guess it's 150.
Everything's 150 on this
That's
fucking
really
console.
specific. No, I'm seeing a lot of I'm seeing a wide variation, but I'm gonna say no. It's not that expensive.
Oh, interesting. Okay. Is it a first party game?
Okay, Chris, just tell us the game because EJ's gonna ruin
Okay,
this.
I'm gonna really quick. I've been waffling all day, and I want to shout out iNinja, which is not the game, but is such a fun, fucking random, quirky, stupid, action platformer game with great humor that we loved as a kid. And I also want to shout out the Mega Man X collection because that was the first time that me as a non-PlayStation owner could play Mega Man X5 and Mega Man X6. And EJ, collector friend, if you ever see the Mega Man X Collection GameCube controller in your travels, I want to know about it because that thing is looks like X's helmet, and when you charge up playing the X Collection, the crystal in the center of the GameCube controller fucking flashes. It's metal as fuck, and I would love to own that. But it's not either of those. Okay, so the GameCube for me is the last bastion of a true commitment to couch co-op because after that, we started moving online. I also went to college, which meant that the Wii, I had one, but I was playing on other stuff. I was playing Call of Duty Zombies and Modern Warfare 2 in my living room, but otherwise it was single player experiences, right? So the GameCube for me was the last bastion of couch co-op. And here comes this game that is like not only the ultimate commitment to like what couch co-op can be like in terms of being both cooperative,
The bucket bitch.
cooperative and competitive. That like, yes, we all have the same objective, but we're also actively trying to fuck each other at the same time because it's fucking hilarious. And also a foreshadowing of Nintendo's belief in the power of what they can do when you're using other devices while you're using the GameCube. And it really did presage, it really, honest to God, did presage not only the Wii U, but the Switch in terms of like, and the 3DS to a certain extent, using it as a controller in Super Smash Bros. For Wii U, that you could use your 3DS as a controller. This is The Legend of Zelda: Four Swords Adventures. This game is so weird. It is like legitimately, I think, the black sheep of Zelda, even more than Link's Adventure.
More than
is.
Triforce Heroes?
Well, Triforce Heroes is a side story. Like that's not a mainline entry to me.
And Four Swords is a mainline entry.
Come on.
I think it is. Yeah, it's got a story that actually holds up. It combines like a Link to the Past visual style with Wind Waker's visual style, and then upres to like what the GameCube could do, which is awesome. But the whole conceit of Four Swords Adventures is, the seal. Zelda's worried that the seal on Vati, who's the antagonist in Four Swords, is breaking, and Shadow Link has appeared and is causing shenanigans. So Link has to draw the Four Sword out to pursue Shadow Link, who's, I don't know, I think kidnapped Zelda. And he splits into 4 links, and everybody, in order to play this game with 4 people, you needed 4 Game Boy Advances and 4 Game Boy Advance to GameCube link cables.
It's absurd. That's why no one played this game.
The video game of the 1%.
Because
You had to have friends.
You had to have friends. They all had to have a GPSP. They all had to have a link cable. I didn't play this game until 2016 because, you guessed it, my buddy Nate had been for years lugging around 4 Game Boy Advance SPs and 4 GameCube to GBA link cables so that he could do this cooperatively with 4 people. And we were living together in Santa Maria when we were both at PCPA. And he was like, hey, I want to do this. And so I'm like, fuck yeah. So it was me and him and two other students in the cohort, Ernest and Miranda. And we had a weekly play group of playing through Four Swords Adventures. It is the way they conceived of this, because obviously like a true Zelda, like in A Link to the Past, would be like impossible because you could just go to any map tile, right? And you'd have 4 people like fighting over it. It's almost like Mario style. You've got 8 worlds with 3 dungeons each, 3 little dungeons each, with classic Zelda dungeon puzzle solving and combat, and then a boss. And when you would go in dungeons, when you would, in like the Oracle's games, you'd go into like certain dungeon basements and it would like flip from top down to side scrolling. It does that in Four Swords Adventures, but it switches to the GBA SP screen. And so you'd be toggling between 2 screens, literally in the way that the Wii U did well over a decade later. Like they were so ahead of their time with how they conceived of how they could use these different devices in their ecosystem. And the game is fun. And again, it is a friendship tester for sure, because if you want that red rupee, you can just power wrist, pick up one of the links and fucking throw him into a pit and take the rupee from him. And there's nothing you can really do about it. Like it's going to happen or it's not going to happen. And we beat it. I saw credits roll on Four Swords Adventures, and it was a great fucking time to have this play group. I will admit there was one boss in particular, and I can hear Nate laughing his like fucking wheeze laugh in my head right now at this specific memory, where you have to reflect beams back at the boss enemy using your sword. And the other 2 people in our party were just too fucking high to be able to do this successfully. So we spent literally like 25 minutes trying to beat this boss, and to the point that I was like vocally starting to be like really upset with these other people, and Nate snapped at me. It's like one of the only times we have ever had like a disagreement of that sort in person. We've gotten into it over text a couple times, and mostly my fault. But he snapped to me, was like, dude, like, what the fuck? Like, calm the fuck down. Because it's just like 20 minutes of trying to beat this fucking boss. There was one night that, and again, this is stuff that, like, you don't get this experience in online multiplayer where we're playing and we're playing late. We're trying to beat this game because summer's going to be over. They're graduated, so they're going to be leaving to go to other stuff. And Ernest is literally like, pass out on the couch. He's got one eye closed and one eye barely cracked, and he's still playing somehow, and is like slumped over in the chair, like with his SP in his lap, and eventually like he just starts like wandering into walls and stuff. So we literally had to just like power wrist him, like pick him up and carry him through the rest of the dungeon so that we could finish this fucking game. Yeah, but the fusion of like A Link to the Past and Wind Waker is just like a match made in heaven. It feels like Minish Cap on like Super Nintendo steroids. The dungeons are like fun and interesting. The bosses are challenging sometimes because people are high, sometimes because they're actually challenging. And just a great use of some of the different things from a bunch of different little pieces of Zelda, like the Four Swords from the GBA. But also like the Dark Mirror from A Link to the Past, which Ganon uses to create Shadow Link from you. It's great. It's great. And it's got its kind of own version of Ganon that is distinct from A Link to the Past because they wanted to be doing their own thing. It's great. I will probably never play this again because I don't think ever be in a room with 4 people who all have GBA SPs and connectors anymore. And Nate sold his because he's like, I did it. I don't ever need to do this again. I don't need to keep carrying these things. I can shed this. But goddamn, like what a fun time that was that summer. And that kind of led me the next summer, that must have been 2015 then, in 2016, to actually get into Zelda in proper, outside of the handhelds that I played as a kid when I played Link to the Past for the first time, Ocarina for the first time, started Majora for the first time, and that kept me moving in the direction of the soon-to-be-released Breath of the Wild that we had seen about at E3, and then Wind Waker, and I still haven't played Twilight Princess and then Skyward Sword, but that's really what got me started, was this beautiful couch co-op experience in the most Nintendo way possible, which means very fun, very forward-thinking, and more than a little bit obtuse with what you needed to play.
Damn, what an entry point into the Zelda series, like the definite like weird black sheep, the weird purple Link of the series, the GameCube like sequel to the weird the side game in a basically just an SNES port to the Game Boy Advance 2 years before. Very interesting.
This kind of concept could not exist today. The idea that you have to have all these devices to properly play
you need 4 3DSs and they all have to be tethered, and
it's insane that this even exists. My game is another one of those games where it's not even necessarily about the game itself. It's about the time and the place and the people you played it with. It's no surprise. We talked about it briefly last week, but it is 007 Nightfire. That was my GoldenEye, right? To a degree. I mean, growing up, like my dad played PC games, and so my brother and I played a lot of like Battlefield and like stuff like that online. Very different experience than a local co-op, the way like GoldenEye had taken over in the late 90s and early aughts. But Nightfire was the game for us, and we played it on both PlayStation and GameCube. And it was great on the GameCube because you had 4 controller ports, so you could get everybody in on Nightfire on the GameCube. It's not even so much the game. Like, Nightfire is a 007 game. The campaign is pretty fucking cool. Like, Pierce Brosnan, you doing just spy shit, high-speed chases, and
the thing that sticks out to me with I get this game and Agent Under Fire mixed up. They were like really close to each other. My cousin had both of them. But the thing that sticks out to me with these games in particular is the multiplayer that had AI bots running around as well, because that made it so much more fun and more of like a playground sandbox kind of environment where it's like, you don't always have to spend the time killing your brother like on the couch next to you. You can also just like go for headshots against these like little goons that are sprinting around in the snow. And yeah, like the levels were really evocative and just sort of like templative of a James Bond movie, even though this isn't based on an actual like story or a movie or a book or anything like that. It's just sort of like an amalgamation of James Bond-ish things.
Right. The bots which is something. It's like such a dirty fucking term now, but back then it really became like a kill race, right? And killing each other is one thing, but it was really who can get their 40 kills off or more, depending on the time limit, and just how competitive we got with that. The tram level with was it the tram or the ski lift going between buildings, and there was like the castle on the one side and then the bar on the other side, and it's like, all right, we're trying to find the golden guns, we're trying to get fucking the heat-seeking missiles where you would shoot
rocket launchers. Always
The heat-seeking missiles was the main thing.
was that shit in GoldenEye? Like
No, not the heat-seeking missiles.
okay,
the golden gun was
the golden gun, yeah.
one shot.
Yeah, just hours of fun. And it's like so tied to like all these different times in my life. Like I can remember the summer, like playing it, going through like my first relationship drama at 17, and we bust out the old whether it was on PlayStation or GameCube at this particular time, I don't remember, but bust that out. And I can remember just the summer day and locking ourselves in the room. And I can remember what the house smelled like then. Remember the Sensies were really popular then. I know exactly the scent my mom was burning in the fucking Sensi wax
cubes.
thing. Yeah, it was just like, to me, just so evocative of like this time and place in my life. And then like going to Crater Lake with our entire family, and we hauled a little CRT TV and our GameCube, and we brought fucking Mario Kart and Smash Bros. And Nightfire, and just holed up in this weird cabin by ourselves the whole time playing GameCube. You know, I remember the first time my brother it was the first time I lived on my own, and it was the first time my brother and I ever hung out, just the two of us, after I had become an adult, because he was still in high school. I moved out at 18, and he didn't drive yet and still lived at home, and it was the year after we lived together, Nick, and John and I were living together, and he had just gotten his driver's license, and he drove over to my house, and it was like just me and my brother hanging out for the first time, like as grown-ass people, and we're just playing GameCube in the basement. And that game is just as tied to those experiences as the Smash Bros. And the Mario Karts. As a game itself, I couldn't fucking really tell you much about it other than like it's 007 and you shoot people.
Yeah, there's like some driving levels. There's a pretty good smattering of like variety in the actual campaign, but it was just the multiplayer. It was like that was the bread and butter.
Okay, I do remember the driving level and the way that bystanders, because like it's on Nintendo console, you can't run like pedestrians over, right? So you're driving at full speed, and the way the the animations where they are literally like fly,
teleport away.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. It's almost like they would have been better off being hit by the car than whatever they were doing in this anime, like flinging to their dooms out of bounds. But anyway, the GameCube is an awesome console. We talked about it at length on the Top 100 pod. There's plenty of GameCube games on that list, but
really quick before we transition away from this, I really wanted to break down for you the meta scores of our 4 games that we brought to the table today.
They're not good.
They're not good at all.
I'll go from best to worst.
Okay.
I'll go from best to worst. Chris did bring the goodest one, which is kind of absurd that The Legend of Zelda 4 Swords Adventures is an 86.
That's crazy.
It's a great fucking game. It's a great
It's
fucking
just barely better than Kirby and the Forgotten Land. I mean, amazing. Truly. Coming in second. I mean, if we want to rank it this way, it doesn't really matter. EJ with James Bond 007 Nightfire has a solid 80 on Metacritic. Like, yeah, that's a strong 80.
Yeah.
You could see it at 75 and still be like, yeah, it's a good 75, but no, it's an 80. What is a 75 is Chibi Robo.
I don't want to talk about
Gotcha
it.
Force, Brandon, you're going to be very disappointed when you hear what Gotcha Force got scored.
I already know what it is. Like I said,
Gotcha Force.
I said it's not a good game.
I don't understand. No, I mean, it's
a good game, but like
it's a good game, but it's not a 56 bad. Like 56 is bad.
56. What
Okay.
the
That's
fuck?
a whammy.
The meta score is 50. I thought it was 63. I thought it was 63, which is not good, but it's not bad.
6, bro. That is
Fucking 6.
rough.
When you got your force, it's a lemon, of course. That's a whammy.
25s and 30s. Like there are people that truly despised their time with that game, which is just absurd to me. I mean, it's like they didn't have a million games that are actually bad coming out every single day like we do now.
Did they play Luigi's Mansion? fuck?
It's because they're miserable people. They don't know how to have fun.
Did you play, speaking of like 007 shooters on GameCube, did you play Rogue Agent?
No.
It's not great. I just was like,
No.
that was my GameCube GoldenEye game because I did
Okay.
get GoldenEye on 64 at friends' houses, and so I was like, oh
Dude,
man,
the cover for that game is so grimdark and hilarious.
oh yeah, it's like all shadowy, one GoldenEye and like a gun. Like that's my memory of it.
Before we're off GameCube, just to throw EJ a little bone here on games he's never played but still supports. My honorable mention, Fire Emblem Path of Radiance,
Of course.
from the actual Fire Emblem fan out here.
Whoa,
It's a game.
Just kidding.
I did
I love you, EJ.
start it because I had borrowed your copies. I don't know if I've told this story on the podcast. I had borrowed your copies of the Radiant games when I first moved to Eugene. And I had a nice little retro setup in the big old bedroom we had in our first apartment. And when we moved, they went into a box, and then we moved to where we're currently at now, right? And my game collection stayed in the garage for years. And at whatever point we moved, and I finally opened the box, I don't know if it was right when we moved or we got settled in, or I don't know how it went, but I remember because you had texted me like, I don't know how many months prior, and you're like, "Do you have my Fire Emblem games?" And I don't know if I was like, no, or if I ignored you, or what. I don't know. But like a year later, I was going through, and I was like, "Hey, Brandon, I have your Fire Emblem games." I had pulled them through a box when we moved, when I was unpacking my collection or something. I was like, "Oh, I definitely have your Fire Emblem games," and I had them for years. And they, my collection was in a box from 2016 to 2020 in storage. So somewhere in that time frame.
I think it was like 2018.
One more additional shout out before we transition into talking about the Nintendo Direct. But the true number one unsung hero of the GameCube is the Game Boy player. Can we all just give it up for that? Because that thing ruled. It actually made the GameCube a cube.
I have mixed feelings about this. I, of course, own the Game Boy player. So the Game Boy player introduced really bad frame skipping. That always held it back for me. And as cool as it was, like, because to me, the Game Boy player or the Super Game Boy on the Super Nintendo is a vastly superior way to play your Game Boy games on the TV. Obviously, Game Boy Advance, you can't play. But
I never owned that, though.
That's fair. The Game Boy player is a very cool little device that they never quite got right. But in recent years, fans have modded it. They've done soft mods that fix the processing so that you're playing it as like close to how it should be played as possible in 240p or whatever
Which
on
is
the
tight.
TV. Yeah, very cool.
There's also been really cool advances in outputting directly from a GBA to either RCA or whatever kind of output you want,
Right.
throwing it onto a CRT TV.
I haven't fucked around with my analog dock yet. I got that so much later, and I just haven't messed with it yet. But I'm like,
Never plugged it in. It's just been sitting in my pile of analog goodies.
oh man. Oh, it's just when you play a handheld game, it feels good to play handheld, But
Yeah. It turns out.
yeah, it's the way it's meant to be played. All right, let's jump over to the Nintendo Direct. Hopefully, we can move, at a relatively decent pace through this. But Nick, I'll let you run us through the Direct, and we'll just kind of kick things around and give our thoughts on some of the things we saw.
Yeah, last week we talked about, there's Nintendo Direct rumors, and we talked about things we wanted to see and what we expected, and turns out, for once, like, the Direct rumors led to an actual Direct, and we got a big, beefy 40-minute summer, June, E3-style Nintendo Direct, and I think it was pretty good. We got a lot of games announced that are coming out this year, which is nice, but it did start out with, like, an interminable amount of Pokemon DLC
Too
info,
much.
which Chris, you were talking about, doing Living Deck stuff and Sword and Shield, Scarlet and Violet. You never actually ended up getting, or
I don't have it yet. That is one of these I will buy it for $30 games. You know what I mean? Where it's like I'm not paying full price, and I'm sure the fuck not buying it from a retail establishment so that you get another sale from me on principle because of how like buggy and janky that fucking game
Totally.
is.
right.
It's a distant future. And then, of course, I'll have to buy the fucking DLC to that so that I could get the other Mons and put them in. Or maybe this is where it dies for me, honestly. Like, I'm kind of at an inflection point as far as that goes. Because of how broken and janky those games were. So maybe question mark, but not in the foreseeable future.
How about you, Brandon?
Don't buy it for anything over 15. As somebody who's played it, like, don't get me wrong.
Can I buy your copy for 15?
Yeah, right.
I'll think about it. I mean, I still have somewhat fun playing with my wife. Like, that's the fun in it, is we both have, she has Violet, I have Scarlet. We play together. And so it was kind of fun in that sense, but like by yourself, yeah, don't buy for anything over 15.
It's also fun going on a walk with your wife. So, I mean, like, you choose your battles.
I can't get Tiffany to play any Pokemon game that is not on a Game Boy cartridge. It was a miracle I got her to play Let's Go, and it was only because it was Kanto, and her copy of Let's Go Pikachu is also, it has a problem. Like, it will not load random encounters anymore. It just literally black screens. Yeah.
Wow. What?
And so,
That's amazing.
And so I need to get her a fresh copy so she can finish the remake of the Game Boy Pokemon that she knows and loves. Like,
Wait a second.
I was like, you want to get the double pack and we'll play it together?
Did she talk to the old man who teaches you how to catch Pokemon? And then she flew to Cinnabar and started surfing up and down the island there?
I didn't want to out her.
She caught missing no, didn't she?
Yeah, she did. She's on antibiotics, so it should be cleared up in like a week.
Ooh, the Pokerus.
Wow, I've never heard of something like that. I wonder if resetting the Switch would fix it, or if it literally is a problem with the cartridge and not just like a weird save file or
save
like
at that point.
Hard resetting, like.
Yeah, it could just be like corrupt data because they, the cartridge is installed or maybe in one of the updates. Like, it's what a weird thing. I've never heard of that.
Yeah,
that's crazy.
It
very
sucks too
unfortunate
because after Animal Crossing, she has not touched her sad, dead little Switch Lite, except for that. I couldn't even get her to play Crash 4, and she loves the Crash Bandicoot games. She's like, nope, if it's not on analog media, it's not for me.
What does she do for fun?
We watch films and television.
Okay,
and we also go outside. We hike a lot. She rock climbs too. So like,
well,
we do a lot of stuff.
Outdoorsy. But you play so many video games that like, what is she doing while you're playing video games? Watching TV and you're just on your Switch,
or scrolling, or I mean, I don't know.
Perfect time to play a game.
I'm playing a fucking video game. I don't know what she's doing.
An attentive spouse.
A lot of the time she's watching something and I can like undock and play in handheld. Or most of the time, like in the evenings, when she has her free time after work and I'm done with my workout, I get home from work, like we're watching TV, like we're watching something. I finished Barry, by the way. The show's fucking great. EJ, you'd really like the 4th season based on what you said about what you didn't like in the 3rd season.
I hope so, because the first 2 seasons were really fucking good.
Yeah, 4th season, big return to form. Anyway, this is not a TV podcast.
After the first thing that they showed, they showed a little bit more of the 2D Sonic games coming out this year. I think that looks pretty charming. An indie game called Palia. I don't remember. It's like a survival farm game. Persona 5 Tactica that got announced at the Xbox show a couple weeks back. I don't know if anyone here is like super into Persona or tactics games. I mean, it's just another one of those sort of spin-off games.
I'm a big Persona fan, but I mean, it's the art style that does it for me. I'm
like the super chibi. This is like the Persona Q, the Labyrinth style.
I like Persona Q. It's just I don't think I'm picking this one up.
Maybe for like $40-$30, it would be like a budget buy, but yeah, a full 60 is kind of a hard sell.
Brandon, you have too many games to play to be buying more new games.
Well, I mean, that's also part of the reason why I don't want to buy it, is because I have so many games. I'm like, do I really need this one? Is this one that's going to sell me? No, especially because there's definitely other games that showed up that I was like, buying. And some that maybe you guys don't know, that it's all like some are obvious and some maybe not so much.
Sure.
Yeah, then they showed a couple more indies. They showed Splatoon 3, like a Splatfest. Kind of strange that you haven't given a date or like shown more of the expansion that's supposed to be coming out this year. I don't think they said summer, but like it's sort of like presumed because the last one was like an August release. So I guess there's still time that they could show more of that. But that was sort of like that was the thing that I said was like the sure thing was Splatoon 3 expansion, but didn't get that. Instead, we got a really ugly Detective Pikachu sequel.
Oh,
like, what the fuck was that?
It's like, what is? They can't keep getting away with this, can they?
Who is it for?
They can't keep getting away with it.
I mean, I guess the 3DS one sold well enough.
Wait, we couldn't have gotten Let's Go 2. We're getting Detective Pikachu Returns. Like it's a fucking threat. Like it's Mike Myers? What the fuck is that? What is that?
They don't make threats, they make promises.
Yeah, no shit.
I mean, I honestly forgot they even made a Detective Pikachu game at all until like I saw this. I'm like, oh yeah, didn't that come out on the 3DS?
Oh yeah, like the movie with Ryan Reynolds.
Dude, Chris just got sent, bro.
I was up. I was out of my fucking seat. I was like, I'm done. I'm broken. I'm broken. I'm going to break harder in like 30 seconds when Nick talks about the next title.
So here we get to the actual meat of this direct, and where it turned into like this is actually like, this is a big boy direct, because before this is like, known quantities, sort of like unhyped things, and then suddenly we get just an amazing. Exactly. And you're like thinking, oh, maybe this is just like coming to SNES Online. Maybe they're just going to sell it whole cloth because Square loves to do that. And then no, they do the 16:9 little tease, and then they show Princess Peach in her chibi glory sitting on in that little patch of grass, and it's real. They're doing a Super Mario RPG remake.
I'm so hyped. And I will say that I'm hyped that we have a date, because I started playing Dragon Quest 3 and then they did a Nintendo Direct, and then they showed that they were remaking Dragon Quest 3. So I instantly stopped my playthrough. That game still hasn't come out. I was about ready to show Emmy Super Mario RPG and play that on the TV. And then this, and I was like, oh, there's a date. I can hold off. I can wait.
Right. November. It's like imminent. It is in the next 5 months.
This, guys. Oh,
Chris got emotional.
Man. This is one of my favorite fucking games of all time. And I just like, I feel like I keep saying like every 3 to 4 months in the last couple years, another one of my all-timers is playable on Switch. Like I feel like every 3 to 6 months in the last couple of years, it's been like, there's another one, there's another one, there's another one, there's another one. And not in a million fucking years did this game, which, Gino for Smash, for years we're begging, like, Sakurai, for fuck's sake, we got Sephiroth, and we couldn't get, like, Mallow or Gino in Smash Bros. Like, there's no fucking way. Like, this, Tiffany owns it on SNES, so we have a physical in the family. I was like, that's it. That's the only one I'm going to ever be able to play this game again. And we're getting a fucking remake, and it looks so loving and beautiful and stumpy Mario. Like, god damn it. Like, it looks like they're going to fiddle with the battle mechanics and add some new wrinkles to that. Like, the origin of all the glory that is Paper Mario, all the glory that is Mario and Luigi Superstar Saga grew from this beautiful collaboration between these two industry titans in Square and Nintendo, in an era where they were still willing to say, take our property and do whatever the fuck you want with it. We trust you.
Please make games for our next console.
Yeah.
And Square says, we'll do this, but we will not do that.
Yes. Sumimasen. That is not happening. God, yeah, there's a whole middle part of the trailer that I just like blacked out for, apparently, and was just like crying and happy and in disbelief.
Just when they start playing the boss music, and it's just a montage of like the bosses and how amazing and lovingly created they are doing. Valentina and her big old boobs.
I was in my car at break when this happened, because I was in my car secluded. I'm just in there watching this, seeing this happen. I'm just like, let's go! Woo! Just like, I'm so glad nobody I worked with was anywhere near me, or else they'd be like, what's wrong with you?
Brandon, I know this is a game that like most of my exposure to it has come through you, and you've talked about this being one of your favorite games. I know this is sort of a precursor to, like you said, Nick, like the Paper Marios and the Mario and Luigi games, which obviously we've played. I remember a story you telling me of like, because your grandma, you would play games at her house, and she would buy these games at garage sales for you. And so these games are for some of us, they're more important than just like a video game, right? And they're tied to
a placement in our life. Like, I have a tattoo of Mario and a Super Nintendo controller on my arm.
Show us the tattoo. Show us the tattoo.
Dude. Yes.
Sick.
But I've also added a little bit to
with the
Mario.
Famicom buttons, though? I don't know. That's not my controller.
Oh, call that, dude.
Oh, ouch. But it's like, It is. You're right. This is one of my favorite games of all time. Like, I'm feeding off of Chris's hype right now. That it's like even hard to like speak to see this game get remade because it's so good. Like, just to put it into perspective a little bit. So, I mean, maybe you guys didn't do this, but as a little kid, when we played with toys, we would like name our characters and stuff, and so or little toys in adventures. And one that I would name my character was Sunset Gino.
It's your
Why?
boy.
Yeah, I was so hyped on Gino in Mario RPG that's what I would name the little action figure was Sunset Gino.
Justice for Gino at last. I will say this is not like a 10 out of 10 extreme perfect nailed it no notes. Like it looks nice. It looks really good. I have qualms with the way they did Bowser dirty and really straying very far from the original vision. It just looks like they drag and dropped Bowser from like Mario Party or whatever, where every other character, like Mario looks like squat little RPG Mario. Peach has a chibiified look. She's not perfect, but like it's passable. But Bowser is just like, it's just Bowser. It's just Bowser. So that's like my one like qualm, I guess that you could say. But beyond that, like just keep it the way it was. Like the map layout is fine. Maybe make things not missable, like that one Frog Fuchsia's coin that is bullshit. If you forget to get it, you just can't get it throughout the rest of the game. Like make that gettable later or whatever, but stuff like that. But yeah, I mean, adding some changes to the battle mechanics, having more like combo systems, that seems really cool, and I want to see what that is, and I'll get to this year. Oh yeah,
I'm stoked to play it properly for the first time.
Oh God, Game Diary for sure. Easily Game Diary. This is one of Tiffany's favorite fucking games ever that she never beat as a kid. And after we started dating, she bought a SNES cart. She shelled out for a SNES cart and beat it for the first time and had this like amazing emotional like childhood and adulthood connection moment. And now that was like 4 years ago. So it's like the perfect amount of time to come back to this game and graphics. Like we're going to fucking cry and we're both going to play it. We're going to own 2 copies. And we got to get her on to talk about it. Holy shit. I'm having so many like core memories unlock about like finally vocally releasing my stoke about this game because it was like 6 a.m. when the direct started airing here. And I'm like not trying to wake my wonderful host up upstairs screaming about Super Mario RPG. I wanted to get my friends and like do like make a Mario RPG movie. When we were little kids, like I wanted to like go be like, you're going to be Mario and you're going to be Peach and like, you're going to be Bowser, you're going to be Gito, you're going to be Mallow. This is kindergarten. In kindergarten, I wanted to do this. Like this game it was my first JRPG I ever played. It like, honest to God, kind of set the table for me to come to like a proper JRPG. Cause this is, as far as JRPGs go, like pretty easy for the Super Nintendo era. Like formative. Fucking formative.
Yeah.
I would absolutely get like Gino's like twin barrels tattooed onto my forearms. Like I should do that this summer while I have stupid money while I'm thinking about it.
Yeah, I'm super stoked for this. This was a game that I came to late. It was a game that I ended up trading in a bunch of N64 games to EB Games at the mall and only getting, $10 in trade value or whatever. And they were selling this game for like $50. And my mom ended up like taking pity on me and being like, you really want this game? You're giving up several games for this one. It means something to you. So she covered the rest, being a good mom.
Shout out Annette.
Yeah, Annette Durheim.
And
Dude, Nick's mom is just amazing. I love her
and
to death.
this game was like one of the games that I remember printing out a game facts guide for, and there being like little tricks and little helpful things. Like if you're feeling under leveled, there was like certain ways that you could boost levels by. I remember specifically there was an area, I think it was in what's the shark guy, Johnny something. That area, there's a place where you can go and get a star, and the star, what it did was it made you invincible, so you could run into the enemies in the overworld. Shout out to enemies in the overworld. Another thing that Earthbound did that was like revolutionary and made RPGs actually bearable. And you would run into enemies in the overworld, and instead of going into a battle, you would just one-shot them and get experience for it. So you would get a star, one-shot a bunch of enemies, run in circles till the time runs out, and then you would like take off all of your equipment and face an enemy and die, and you would get a game over, but you would keep all your levels from that trick, and it would reset the level, and you'd get the star back, and you could just do that. You could just repeatedly grind this area for levels. And that's just such a core memory with me in that game. That and like This was me getting into video game music for the first time, finding websites like OC Remix. There were like MIDI sites that would share their MIDI versions of the music, and this game had awesome music. Into the Forest Maze is a like S tier top 5 video game song of all time. And just I can't wait to hear it in this version, because like all the music they've shown so far has been very faithful, really lovingly redone. Yoko Shimomura back at it like a bad habit.
Yeah.
Like she is goated for sure. And yeah, I'm super stoked for this game. EJ, you have to play it.
Yeah, you have no choice.
I can't avoid it.
No getting out of it.
I would love to be back for when you guys do this for a game diary.
We're going to do a megapod.
A fat pod, because Tiff is like chomping at the bit to come back to talk about this game.
So after the high that was Super Mario RPG, we got a couple like soft announcements. They showed a little trailer, like teaser, I guess, for a Princess Peach game that's coming out next year. Kind of a strange little like look, not even like a working title. And then also confirmed a remake sort of Luigi's Mansion Dark Moon from our favorite system, the 3DS. So just more Luigi's Mansion. But these two things sort of put up red flags for me, because it seems like these are the kind of games you want to have like out in the ether before making something like a hardware reveal in the next 6 months. You know, like, yeah, we're not abandoning the Switch. Like, yeah, we said we're making that Princess Peach game, and you are getting Luigi's Mansion Dark Moon. You guys love that game, right? It seems like that's the kind of tone that they're setting for 2024 as they finish 2023.
Great.
With like some awesome Mario games and like some other stuff.
I hope this sets a precedent for 3DS ports to the Switch. And not just because of Samus Returns, but because I think there's a lot of really good... Like, can you imagine if they brought Fire Emblem Awakening to the Nintendo Switch? I would buy that game if they did that on principle, purely on principle.
I mean, rumor right now is Genealogy of the Holy War, which story-wise for our Fire Emblem games is like the pinnacle of Fire Emblem.
It's a given that
that's
is
what
coming.
I'm hoping.
Yeah, that'll definitely be coming in the next year for sure.
They have a very, very wide back catalog of Fire Emblem games that they could bring to a Switch audience that is proven to be hungry for that kind of content.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
More ports, the Batman trilogy, which has like been weirdly rumored for like years, and this is finally kind of like making its way over. Very well regarded games. We'll see how they run on the Switch. I don't know if any of these other this middle section is just like, it was very like, yeah, we're coming down off the high of like the big RPG announcement, and these are kind of like rapid, you know, like little bits and bops here, you know, some Hot Wheels, some Just Dance, some Gloomhaven. I mean, it's kind of like take your pick. It might be for you kind of things. Man, I really wish they did more love for Dragon Quest Monsters, because that is a series that I really, really, really like. And this looks so cheap and bad that it hurts me, because I love those games and they introduce so many things to the monster catching genre. And the designs from Akira Toriyama and the Dragon Quest series are like, they are top tier. They are up there with like Mario and Kirby and Pokemon as far as memorable and just like really charming creatures. And this gameplay did not do much for me. And hopefully it's something that I can get for sale and like just really enjoy the gameplay, because the visual stylings do not leave me confident. It looks so bad, and that's a bummer, because it should be better. Any of you guys have any experience with the Dragon Quest Monsters series?
I'm on the same side as like, I've played like every single Dragon Quest game that's come over to North America. I've even played Dragon Quest Sword on the Wii, and I bet like majority of people don't even know that there was a Dragon Quest Sword on the Wii using the Wii motion control.
Right.
It's like this looked like Dragon Quest Monster Joker on the DS. It looked like a DS game. Like that's
Seriously,
how it felt.
yes.
And like how much this hurts to me is like talking about actual like Game Boy games, not Game Boy Color games, but the original Game Boy games. The only game I played more than Dragon Quest Monster growing up on the Game Boy was probably Pokemon Silver, maybe Pokemon Red 2. But otherwise, Dragon Quest Monsters was the top tier play game that I owned. I owned a lot of Game Boy games. It's like, that is how much this game is to my heart. And I agree with Nick. It was really disappointing.
Especially after, what was it, last year, the year before, that we got that Dragon Quest like Treasures. That was like a spin-off sort of game from Dragon Quest 11.
Yeah.
And that game looked really nice. And this game does not look even up to that level. And I don't know what's going on. Like Square just wanted to like, yeah, we hear you. You want a Dragon Quest Monsters. Here's like some table scraps. It's really unfortunate.
At the end of the 3DS's life, they released a Dragon Quest Monsters, kind of a remake-ish for in Japan only, and like that game looks better than this, and so that makes it even more. It's like they saw Joker and they gave us Joker, and then they're like, oh, North America wants a monster. Well, they can have Joker again. The similar style.
The Dragon Quest we have at home, you know.
Yeah.
That sucks. I'm sorry to hear that.
After that, we got Pikmin 4, which is like, I don't know. I kind of tuned out after like getting to Pikmin because it's like I know I'm gonna play this game. Did you guys really pay attention? Was this like a selling point? Did this turn the tide for you, or is it sort of like a yeah, I'll check it out, or no, I'm skipping?
It's Pikmin. Looks cute.
It's Pikmin.
Yeah,
a little closer in.
I know I'm gonna
multiplayer
buy
stuff,
it,
which I like.
but I did appreciate confirming a lot of the things that we had speculated at the previous trailer. Like, kind of looks like we're
Like
gonna
the
get
nighttime stuff.
Yeah, so like what's that gonna look like? The little like ghouly Pikmin. I was like, oh, that's so fucking like I love that. That's so cute and charming. The fact that they can like blob up together, like I love that. Like it's such a neat iteration and is so on brand for it. But I mean, I knew I was gonna play it. It's just good to see more.
Yeah, and Ochi's a good boy, even though he is like a kind of ugly little bastard. He's got like 2 legs and no nose. But you know, good for him. Pikmin 1 and 2, Shadow Drop. I mean, Chris, you did mention that earlier that you're going to wait for the physical release. I think I would too, because I like Pikmin 1. And if it would be, I don't know what they're going to do. If it's going to be like the new play controls with the Wii style, and if they're going to like retrofit that into like stick controls the way they did with the Metroid Prime. But that would be like really nice.
I've read some hands-on, and you can do stick controls. You can do adapted motion controls. It is based on the new play control versions on the Wii.
Right on. So it's all widescreen. Yeah, I would love to replay those games. I really like Pikmin 1, and I only really ever dipped my toe into Pikmin 2, like started like the first level, and like that is it. So after really loving Pikmin 3, I don't think I've really tried 1 and 2 since then. So it'd be nice to revisit those. Anyone here, Brandon, I guess I should just ask you, if you're a Metal Gear Solid fan, if the collection does anything for you.
I mean, I probably will get it just because I want to play Twin Snakes again.
Is Twin Snakes in this?
Well, Twin Snakes was a remake of the first 2 games, right? Or is it just the first game?
First game.
And so this is a re-release of the first game, but not the remade version that was Twin Snakes.
Well, yeah, and additionally, there has been like some leaks / speculation based on store things getting put up that there's going to be a Master Collection Volume 2 that's going to include a lot more of the more recent ones, like Metal Gear Solid 4 in particular, which is notable in that it is stranded on the PS3, and that is the only console it ever came out on.
Yeah, 3, 4, 5, and Peace Walker rumored.
Right, or even like was there a Vita one, or was Peace Walker the PS? I get them all mixed up. Yeah.
So the title lineup for the Master Collection is Metal Gear, Metal Gear 2 Solid Snake, Metal Gear Solid 2 Sons of Liberty, Metal Gear Solid 3 Snake Eater, Metal Gear, and Snake's Revenge. No Twin Snakes.
No Ghost Babel either. I wonder if they even would do the Game Boy one.
Oh, I was also like, when I saw, because didn't they just release a trailer for a revamped remake version of Snake? Yeah, so seeing that on there, I was like, what? That's so weird. Like, you're remaking it, but you're also re-releasing it on the collection. A lot of these
games were like on like PS4 and 360 and like PS3 and stuff, but they ended up getting delisted because of like rights stuff, and I guess they just waited to get all the right stuff sorted out and then reissue this as like their, hey, it's exciting. It's the thing that has been gone for 6 months. It is now back, and you can pay us the big money for it, please. And it coming to Switch is like nice because Nintendo consoles rarely get any sort of Metal Gear representation aside from Smash Brothers, I guess. It does seem like a blind spot for a majority of us in this call.
I'm less tempted now.
But I it's a series that I know I'm gonna like it narratively. It's just a matter of, can I deal with PS1 jank?
Right, a stealth game from PS1.
Enough to get through that game that I'm like, oh, because that's kind of, if I can't get through that and I bought it so I could do the whole franchise, that's going to be such a boner. I don't know. I got to think more.
I've played them all. I've beat them all. Other than Twin Snakes, I have no interest to replay any of them. They're great games. I know some people will love replaying them, but just for me, yeah, it's Twin Snakes is the only one that like has just that kind of nostalgia level. Because it was the first Twin Snakes was like the first game I rented for my GameCube when I first got it. So it's all like it's got a little bit of. It's all like I got my first TV that my parents would let me have in my room, like with the GameCube, and I rented that, and so it's like it's got a core memory there, and so it's got a deep place in my heart. Where the other ones were fun, it just doesn't have that much appeal to me.
What else we got? A lot of goofy shit.
Yeah, I mean, the number one thing that we have to talk about is Headbangers Rhythm Royale. The oft requested, and I don't know how it's taken so long for us to get a battle royale rhythm game featuring pigeons. Like, it seems like a match made in heaven.
It's perfect. I mean, take a little bit of Minions, take a little bit of Fall Guys. You know, you meet Final Fantasy Themurimica, put some pigeons. It's everything I've ever wanted in a video game.
Oh my god!
And like those, it's like it reminds me a lot of. There's like a series of YouTube, like short humorous videos. I wouldn't call them even memes. Like, it's just like, here's some weird music and someone who's gotten Blender and figured out how to make the stretch and squash animation work. And it's just a bird bopping along, and it's like Halloween. You know, it's like, yeah, it's definitely exactly what you think it is, like 30 seconds. And then they start spinning out of control, and it's like YouTube poop by the end. But it feels like that, but a video game. I don't know. I know that Leaf was like, yo, this looks really good. And I think Lindsay was even like, that's really cute. And like, it might be fun, but I don't know. We'll see. It looked kind of fuzzy.
Sounds like
they're
Astro
running this game at
Bears.
360p. Yo, if it's like $10 and like $3 on sale,
Yeah.
let's go. But it's not gonna be. It's gonna be like $20. You know.
I just want to know what they were on when they came up with the idea, because I want some of that. I want to try that.
It might be fentanyl, so I would avoid that. We also got. I thought this actually looked really good, like for what it is. But Penny's Big Breakaway is that 3D platformer game made by the Sonic Mania team.
We should all buy that on principle.
I mean, yeah, that team knows what they're doing, and like they really knew how to capture that vibe, and then they're just taking the next logical step. And this is like an N64/PS1 kind of style 3D platformer collectathon. A very interesting mechanic where this character has a yo-yo, but they utilize it like a grappling hook in midair, but without actually having to grapple to something. So that sort of serves as your double jump or like an air dash, sort of added mobility. And it seems very kinetic, and I love running and jumping around in 3D space. And a lot of indie games have actually done really good jobs in capturing that vibe, like Tori 3D, or even Kiwi 64 last year, same dev, but like a very similar sort of like, yeah, those games were fun because they were simple. And games can still be fun and simple. And I really like rewarding those sort of endeavors.
Yeah, it looked fun and cute. It would be a price point for me. Like, you talking, this is a $15, $20 game, I'll pick it up. Absolutely. It looks just fun, easy, simple.
Yeah, I could see it like topping out at like 30, but you'd probably pay like $40 for like a limited physical release. It seems like one of those kind of like big indie games that gets a physical release, but still costs way too much because Switch tax. Mario Kart, we got some more booster core stuff, some additional playable characters. I didn't actually pay too close attention. I'll have to go back and like check the VOD on the new course that they showed. Did they give a release date for that? Or is it just like, hey, check it out, play this later, I guess?
It blows me away. We just talked about this, about how Mario Kart 8, like they're still doing things. And it was like, okay, we're getting like old courses remastered. That's fun and stuff. Like, when are we going to do the next Mario Kart, whatever? Like, we're getting all these new courses now, and they're just... There's like 4 more packs still to come, right? Like, it's just crazy.
Yeah, it's 6 total, right?
July 6th is when it comes out.
Oh, wow. Yeah, that's like right around the corner. Hell yeah.
I mean, I will say this about Nintendo lately, at least with the directs. I've noticed that when it comes to like Nintendo, and I appreciate them over like other companies for this, when it comes to like their products, they typically give a release date mostly, and it's normally like within 6 months. Like, obviously we got the Peach game that, we don't have a lot of information from, so every so often they do a little teaser here, but for the most part, when they drop something, it's like, oh, you can get this in 6 months at the latest.
Well, in a post Metroid 4 Prime 4 world, they're very careful to...
Why do you got to do that?
And that was more just like, hey, a sign of life. Like, yes, there's a pulse, but it's like they made no promises as far as like when that game is coming. It's just like, yes, we're making it. That's all we want as a Metroid fan.
They've just been very careful since that travesty of an E3 to,
Yep.
Make sure they're only giving us things that they can actually give us.
Star Ocean Second Story R, I actually thought looked really good. It was like a really cool sort of take on like a PS1 RPG, sort of like that HD 2D vibe, but without like the pixel art backgrounds. It's more just like an actual, low poly, low sort of low fidelity, I guess you could say, backgrounds, but with like these pixel art characters, which a lot of PS1 RPGs actually did that, where it was like the opposite of Final Fantasy VII, where that was like a pre-rendered background with 3D characters. A lot of ones like this, and I think Wild Arms did this, and like Xenogears, where it was a 2D sprites, but a 3D background and environment. And it makes me like hopeful for other games like this. Like it would be really cool to get a Xenogears remake in this style. And I've heard only good things about Star Ocean 2 specifically. Like, it seems like this is like one of those all-timers, unsung heroes of the JRPG genre. So I'm actually pretty interested in giving this a shot. It seems really good.
I'm super excited for this one. Star Ocean, End of Time, so Star Ocean 3 was a game I grew up on the PS2, played tons. And like every Star Ocean game after that, it's like I've tried to play them, but it's just like the art aesthetic like has not been for me. They've tried to make like a realistic anime looking characters, so they look like hairy. Like their skin looks hairy, even though they're like smooth skin. And it's like,
dude, I know.
And I'm just so, but like you get the game and the cover's like hyper anime, and then you get in and it's like this hyper realistic looking anime, and you're just like, oh, I can't do this. So I'm actually pretty excited that they're coming to this, back down to a more kind of like like you were saying, how it's the rendered on the 3D, kind of like NES, old school PlayStation style. But but like when I saw this, it's like when my wife and we watch whatever we're watching, it's like we'll also play Switch. And so I've had in my backlog, they did a remake of Star Ocean 1, so I started playing that after the direct and hype for this game, which that's been pretty fun because I've never played 1 or 2. It's like I've played everything from 3 onwards, and so I'm excited. I'm really also excited to finally get to play 2. And I recommend, I'm not being paid, or maybe I am, but 1's pretty cheap on the Switch store. Go pick up the remake of 1. It's been pretty fun.
Oh, cheap.
I mean, when I got it, it was like $10.
Oh,
but
that's not bad.
I think it was on sale too.
That's probably like, what, a 20-hour game?
I haven't got to play it that much, but I think it is about like old school RPG. Probably it's normally about 20 to 30 hours.
That's not bad.
Yeah, the original Star Ocean. Is it the PSP? Like, was there a PSP remake or something? Because they did a million PSP remakes of these games.
I think so. I think it is the PSP remake.
So is that First Departure? Does that sound right?
First Departure.
Yeah, that's a 20 hours on How Long to Beat. So
that sounds good.
That sounds doable.
I really want to know these games because I know that they're like the first ones, especially, are like JRPG royalty from that like classic PS1 era of just like beautiful turn-based JRPG goodness. And I'm still kind of itching for a turn-based, and I'm not going to get Mario RPG until November, and even then, like, that game's so easy. That's a JRPG that even EJ will be able to play and feel very competent at.
Chris, just let me take you under my wing, buddy, and show you the world of JRPGs.
It's a trap.
Because I don't know the next time I'm going to have like 100 hours to do a Xenoblade. So maybe some like bite-sized would be good.
Yeah, just play like 6 or 7 30-hour PS1 JRPGs instead of biting into some goodness.
I'm sure it would
Son
be.
of a bitch.
I'm sure it would be brilliant. I just like, God, I can't even imagine the next time to sink that much into like one single game. It's like it's so much shit waiting for me on PS5.
Yeah, you can only have so many Zelda games. Yeah, WarioWare doing like a strange late sequel to the Wii Smooth Moves. Like,
Really
interesting.
Weird. Oof.
I think it looks really cute, and it's like certainly like a fun little party distraction game. But I mean, I'm not hanging out with the boys after high school anymore. So it seems like I don't know if this is the game for me anymore. But I don't know if Lindsay seems like she wants to play it. Like I'd drop $60 on a nice game to play with the lady, once a week for like a month. Like that sounds like a good time. But if it's not going to be the both of us playing, I don't see a point in playing this solo or anything like that. What do you guys think?
First I'll recommend getting the WarioWare that's already on the Switch if that is something she's interested in. That one's a solid one. Oh yeah. It's a mixed feeling because I mean I've never been a big motion control fan, but it still looks fun and it's all like it's something to do with my wife. But one comment she did make that was kind of funny was she's like, it looks kind of like 120 different artists kind of did each individual game. Like WarioWares have never had like the best art, but it definitely looks a little bit wilder than the others. But one of the reasons I love this game, the WarioWare games in general, is like it just feels like coming home from high school and getting on the computer before I do some homework, jumping on addictinggames.com and doing some impossible challenge.
It is very much that like frenetic lol, so random, but like actually good that you don't really get as much in the current day and age. So it is nice. Like WarioWare is still like a pet series for me that I will stand for, but I don't have to dip into every game. It's not one that I feel like I have to defend or show my undying support. It's just like, yeah, it's the old faithful that I know I can go back to and just have a nice time. Finally, we get the big juiciness. And EJ, I want to hear from you about this game specifically because you seemed a little bit like, man, whatever, about new or not even new. It's just Super Mario Bros. Wonder.
First of all, I don't understand the new Super Mario Bros. Hate. I can understand sort of being tired of. I mean, listen, we've been getting new Super Mario Bros. Games since
Bush was president.
Yeah, I mean, it's been a long time, so I get it from that perspective of like, oh, let's do something like new. I don't think Wonder is exactly completely fresh. Like there, some of the character models are a little cuter, some of the animations are a little more fun, but people like breaking this thing down frame by frame, like, what are you gleaning out of it? Like, you're not going to know until you know how the physics feel, and that's understandably a complaint that a lot of people have had of the new series. I really loved the one on DS. That's a fucking great game. I really liked the one on the Wii and the co-op. Didn't really play any ones after that enough to like, have a strong opinion. It was more of the same, and I just have kind of outgrown 2D Mario games in general. But I'm like, yeah, this doesn't look dramatically different. It looks like it belongs in the current year and not a game that came out 10 years ago. But like, I don't understand the hate for those old games, and I don't understand the hype for this game when it's just another 2D Mario game. I just don't know where they're going. If you like 2D Mario, I'm sure it'll be great. But so is the new series for people who like 2D Mario, I just don't really know what people want. And when you see the discourse online and how mad people were, and finally we've been released from the chains that were fucking new Super Mario Bros. Like, all right, relax, people. It looks cute. Looks like Mario. I like that they're leaning into the like, hey, Mario ate the wrong kind of mushroom vibe. Like, that's cool.
Yeah, that's the thing that stood out to me was the getting the flower and then everything trips out.
Yeah, it was like, all right, we got another gimmick. He's a fucking elephant this time? Okay, I guess.
Chris, what did you think of the art style shift, and what is your perceived sort of expectation going to this game coming out in October? The same day as Spider-Man 2.
How dare
Well,
rough.
I won't have Spider-Man 1 done yet, so I know what I'm playing.
Yo.
I will answer your question before I inevitably yank on EJ's chain a little bit more. I like that it just seems really kooky and kind of getting back to the like absurdity that is Mario, where they're like, what if we didn't worry about like anything and we're just like, okay, flower makes everything fucking freak out, like you just like you said, ate the wrong kind of mushroom. We're like, we've done
the
a
right
lot of
kind.
Or the right kind. We've done a lot of different, like, weird little kooky animal power-ups. Let's make him a fucking elephant. Like, why not? I will say, like, having played the whole new series, it's literally the same game 5 times. And all of the world designs are almost literally copy-pot. Like, I remember playing New Super Mario Bros. Wii with my ex and feeling like, oh, okay, yeah, this is really similar to the DS game. But like, it looks nice. It plays well. So that's cool. It's like an 8.5. And then playing New Super Mario Bros. Wii U and going, this is the same game. Like, this is not even the port. Like, this is literally the same worlds, the same world designs. There's the ice world, there's the desert world, there's the jungle world, whatever. It's just literally a retread in a way that we hadn't seen in the 3D series, and that the 2D series had consistently been evolving until they moved away from that at the end of the Super Nintendo era. And then we got New Super Mario Bros. on the DS, and it's like, oh my God, this is great, like new 2D Mario, cool. And now we've done like 5 of these, and they have not done anything meaningful to give us a different experience. So I'm excited, if for no other reason than I get to do something a little bit different in a 2D Mario game. I like that it'll be kooky and weird because we know I'm a David Lynch fan. And I like that my wife, a brunette, can play as the superior princess, Daisy, for the first time. That's a big win for our household. I do want to put something on all of your radars. There's growing belief online that Nintendo has replaced Charles Martinet as the voice of Mario. And there's been a lot of folks playing back the sound clips that we heard in the trailer, and the Japanese trailer especially, because there's a soundbite of him saying like, wahoo, I'm an elephant, or some stupid shit when he gets the elephant power up. And people are like, this does not fucking sound like Charles Martinet at all. So there is a belief online growing that he's been like shadow replaced as the voice of Mario.
It's Chris Pratt.
He's such a cool guy.
That was my first guess, though, is that they're trying to like nudge it closer to Mushroom Kingdom, here we come, because they're going to make a trillion of these movies, and Chris Pratt is going to voice Mario in all of them. So I'm excited. It looks like something new, which I appreciate. I will play it with my wife. We'll have a great time. That's a big plus for me. I'm hoping that our collective energy on this pod can shame her into playing more video games with her husband, God forbid. Because we have a great time when we do, but it can't only be Kirby. Man cannot exist on Pig Puff alone.
Hey, have her talk to my wife. My wife will do some work, because we play video games together all the time.
Are you guys looking forward to playing this new 2D installment of the Mario series?
Absolutely. We are definitely going to be playing that one together. And if it's got a decent online, my boy EJ should be dropping in with us.
Decent online, Nintendo?
I mean, yes,
Okay.
I know. I know.
It's like Pee-wee's Playhouse. You said the secret word. Whoa!
So, yeah, I think this game looks really inventive in ways that we've not seen in a 2D Mario game since New Super Mario Bros. Came out. Like, that was inventive and creative on just the fact that it was 15 years since we got a 2D Mario game before that. And we've been coasting along for 17 years since then, with the only real like highlights being the Mario Maker games, which are not inventing anything. They're not, introducing new elements visually or mechanically. They're just taking from the old ones and allowing you to be creative in new ways with them. They are templative in that way. So this being an actual new 2D Mario game is very exciting for me. It's something that we haven't really gotten except for in the 3D games. It's something that I really loved about Mario Odyssey, and that I'll argue with Chris until the end of time, with like the inventiveness of like the Luncheon Kingdom and how it turned what was normally, a red lava world into a purple and pink and polygonal food world, and how nice of a change that was. Like it serves the same purpose, but visually it is distinct and interesting. And we've seen already new elements of that in this game with like the new powers, like, incorporating Mario as taking over these sort of new forms is old hat. It is tradition. It is done, but it's nice to see it in new ways. And just like running past these flowers that are like narrating and like telling you to roll, like they're just cheering you on. Like that seems like such a fun additive element that is not something that you get frequently in these Mario games. You don't get voice acting, really. You get Mario saying, wahoo, let's go. That's not voice acting. That is for all intents and purposes an onomatopoeia. It's a sound effect. But actually having characters speak and say things like you destroying a Goomba as an elephant, the flower commenting on it is funny to me. I find that charming and appealing. So this new art style is really, really nice. Having the 3/4 churn so you actually see more of Mario's face is such a small but significant change in the way you visualize your character. Mario looks a little weird, which is nice. Like, we're so used to seeing Mario just be Mario. Like, the Mario Tennis game, the Mario Golf game, it's all just the same model dragged and dropped and put into different scenarios, and they all feel safe. And it's only with this game that this and Mario RPG, honestly, you see, like, the variation that Mario can have, and they're feeling more confident. It feels more interesting and brave than just the safe thing that's been the way that the company approved the state-sponsored vision of Mario, which is why I don't love the new Bowser in Mario RPG, but that's like a total aside. So yeah, I think this game looks beautiful. Just the tiny little, like, the handcrafted animations when they're like, they zoom in, obviously, because they have to show off Mario getting big, and like they have each frame. It's not just like a stretch and like a tweening between 2 points like they would have in something like the new Super Mario games. It's like a frame by frame little him getting big, and like him having his legs kicked out, him like doing, like, he's so acrobatic, and it looks like he's having fun while he's running and jumping around. It's something that goes a long way for me. I think it looks really, really cool.
The discourse on Twitter is predictably silly, but I saw one guy being like, "Oh my God, just compare the backgrounds of these levels and look at how much prettier this game is." And I was like, okay, this is why Wind Waker HD had the bloom crank to fucking 11. Is because you can trick a normie by just making things brighter and bloomier, and to be like, "Oh, it looks so much better." It's like, it looks like a game that is 10 years newer than the last game. But let's like not get carried away as if those games are bad because they look a certain way and this game's good because it looks a certain way. Like, let's just fucking relax here.
It just goes to show that we've been new Super Mario pilled for so long that like literally anything, just like water, like an oasis in the desert that is the 2D Mario series. We're just searching for a drip of creativity, and we haven't gotten it until just now. So like, yes, let us celebrate a little bit. But yeah. I agree to an extent, but yes, the backgrounds look better, but it is also 2023, and that game came out in 2006, so yes.
Yeah, of course it does. Well, overall, it was a good direct. Like, it's definitely an end of life. At least we hope. God damn, I hope the Switch is going to die soon. Give me the next thing.
Be careful what you wish for, because I think the assumption that the next console is going to be hybrid portable home is a big fucking assumption for Nintendo. And I think that we may mourn the loss of this when we get the inevitable zag when we think they're going to zig.
I just hope it's in a format that's backwards compatible, because Nintendo has historically been pretty good about that. It's just that when they switch cartridge formats or disc to something else, like you lose the previous console. But yeah, I just want to be able to play my Switch games on the next console, because I've got way too many of them sitting on a shelf over there, so I need to play them sometime.
Yeah, I'm just gonna cherish the Switch while I still have it. Like, everybody's sitting here like, "Oh, the next name's like, I'm content, I'm happy." Like, don't do this to me.
Yeah, and if it is exclusive, I still have my Switch, so I will not be afraid to still plug that thing in. It is not nearly as much of a burden as the Wii U was on my shelf.
Yeah, and it never will be. Good job, boys. That's the Nintendo Direct. Brandon, thanks for joining us, man. Thanks for finally getting on here and talking shit with us. It's we always talk video games, but it's nice to have you actually on here with everybody.
Hey, thank you for having me. I appreciate it, and I absolutely love talking video games as well. So, whenever you want an even heavier JRPG opinion on something, you know who to. I'm not saying not to downplay Nick's contributions to JRPG. I just feel I might play just a couple more than he does.
We'll definitely get you on for some Super Mario RPG remake when the time comes. But
oh yeah,
we'll do this next week. Are we gonna run out of things to talk about? Doing weekly is just it's a grind, boyos.
No, we've got a league recap that's gonna take 6 hours.
Oh, that's next week. Yeah. That's gonna be good. Yeah, we'll see how that goes. All right, Constant Crusade.